Welcome back to Young Married Christian, where Christian influencers talk about marriage and parenting. We're on a mission here at Young Married Christian to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. And in this episode, Devo talks to No Big Deal.
Really, I came from the sticks. Yeah. All I've been making is hits.
And it was the exact opposite. It was a big deal. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. Because I was super excited. I was fanboying out.
Strange guys. Super weird.
And it was so cool to see him kind of tear back the curtain of the Christian hip hop world and kind of give me a behind the scenes look, and honestly, you guys, a behind the scenes look into what that looks like.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and hide your faith to be famous.
There was also a part of the interview where Dill and his wife talked about church hurt, and they talked about the power of community and how their church has just done an exceptional job of building community.
I'd rather lend 2 ears than tattoo tears.
Talking about building community, not only did he talk about his solo career, but he talked about the community of Indie Tribe.
Indie Tribe, the biggest movement since Bree and Boosie.
And the branding behind it. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Now you know who you're dealing with.
And I think the most incredible part of this entire interview is at the end of this episode, you're going to hear Dill and his wife talk about an incredibly vulnerable season in their marriage.
You cannot tear us apart.
Definitely stick around to the very end of the episode because you're going to want to hear that story.
Things got deep. So hold on to your prayer beads, Susan, because we are young, married, Christian.
Top 5. This is a really hard question for somebody who really studies hip hop and is all the way into it. To make a definitive list, there's ones that you can say for clout. Oh, Tupac's in my top 5. Whatever, man.
He's not.
You don't listen to rap. No, I love Tupac, but I'm just saying I think people will put certain names in their top 5. It's not their personal taste. It's just what's expected or whatever. I would say, so all time. You're asking all time, top 5. No,
Right.
No particular order, just the top 5.
Since Adam was rapping out the animal names in the Garden of Eden.
Wow. Wow. All right. So I would say, dang, this is hard. Jay-Z for sure. Lil Wayne for sure. Drake for sure. Kanye, and this is where it gets hard. This is always where it gets hard. There's so many that you don't want to leave out. I'm just gonna say Kendrick.
Cool.
Right now.
So no Christian rappers. So if you're,
No Christian rappers in my
No.
top 5. And all the Christian rappers that I talk to, very few, extremely few, have a Christian rapper in their top 5. I do have one friend that has a Christian rapper in their top 5, but
Is it blasphemous for me to say that my favorite Jay-Z album was the one that he did with Linkin Park?
it's so that is an excellent album, but your opinion is incorrect. Yes, your opinion is objectively incorrect. Your opinion is factually incorrect.
That is the same vocabulary that I hear from Ashley often. Okay. Sunday morning after church, you and Chelsea, you're leaving. You don't have a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
You're hungry. You got to grab lunch. You got to go through a drive-through. It's your choice. She's giving you the choice. Where are you going?
For a drive-through?
Mm-hmm. Or just something quick.
You didn't think this was going to be that hard of a question. I like Taco Bell.
Anything in particular about Taco Bell? You don't eat at any fast food restaurants, do you? You're like, you just named the first one that you thought of.
We do, but I don't think we would I don't think we would go through a drive-through after church. The situation you set up was not a part of our rhythm. So my brain was like, I don't know what to do with this. This input isn't working. You know what I mean? Like if we were going to eat after church on Sunday, it would not be a drive-through, most likely. Okay. And if it was, it just probably wouldn't be.
Okay. What would
right?
you? What is that because
after church on lunchtime Sunday? He's making a non-committal
Do
answer.
you guys just fast on Sundays?
No, we don't fast on Sundays.
Okay.
No, only new moons and festival booths and that type of stuff. That's the only time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I asked that because like for me, like
Yom Kippur.
Huh?
Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how you say it.
Yom
Kippur.
I have like a connection to a fast food restaurant. It just recently opened here in Orlando, White Castle, because like my father, like when I would hang out with him, which was, not too often, like I would get to spend quality time with him and we'd always go to White Castle. So it has like that, like I have that connection to my childhood in that. So I was wondering, like, do you have anything? Apparently it's not fast food restaurants, but like, do you have something in your life that you have a connection to your childhood that it's like, maybe it's not good. Like you go back.
Oh
and
yeah, I have that.
Cause like, I understand
sure.
White Castle's trash.
Yeah.
But
no, I have that for sure.
Okay. So what is that for you?
Okay. Well, first I want to say that like Taco Bell and McDonald's are like our most frequented fast food restaurants for sure. Cause kind of when you're in the mood for trash, like those are the two trash things. But the thing you're talking about with like nostalgia and an emotional connection for me would be brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tarts and pizza Lunchables. Even though I know like it's crappy, especially the pizza Lunchable. Like that one, that's wild. Like an adult being like, I gotta have pizza Lunchables right now. But that's the same thing that you're talking about. That's the one for me.
Is there a story behind these two things?
I think it's just it's not like as maybe zeroed in and focused as yours, but it's just the childhood thing. Like it's just the childhood nostalgia, good times, pizza Lunchables,
Yeah. Yeah, because I think I like when I hear your music and you're talking about things like Richard Scarry, which I had to introduce to my fiance the other day at Barnes & Noble as we were reading children's books to each other. But you talk about Bernstein Bears, you talk about Dragon Ball Z. You got a whole song about Barney. Like you reference a lot of things that like I'm like, oh, we lived the same childhood.
Right.
Is that because you're like, are you trying to relate to these 90s kids like me that you think are going to be listening to your music, or are you trying to go back to like a time in your life that you really love? Like why all these like childlike cartoon references?
I try not to try that much in music. Like, so whatever is like just naturally coming out of my head and my heart, that's what's gonna like be in the lyrics. If I'm trying, then I'm gonna try on like the marketing side and stuff. But with the music, I kind of just let it like, let it come out. But as far as the references, that is how my mind works. That's how like conversations with me and my friends or whatever, that's how it works, those connections. My brain is always making parallels and allegories and just all different types of connections between things. So even if I'm just like walking down the street or out in the world, whatever, like those connections happen, and music has actually been like an outlet where I can make those connections and verbalize them and put them out into the world, and it's like people like it and it's revered and it's like unique. And in conversations and stuff growing up, then it's more like, why is he like this? You know what I mean? Like before it was like, what is he talking about? Why is he so excited about this? Why is he nerding out about this thing? But when it's in the music, people are like, how do you think of that? How are those connections? So it's like, it's that thing of like the stuff you maybe were like ridiculed for, or like kind of an outcast for becoming like the thing about you that is attractive, so.
Were you bullied as a kid?
I was bullied as a kid. You could probably tell by how I was just talking about it. But I was bullied pretty heavily in middle school, which I mean middle school kind of sucks for everybody. Nobody's like, yo, middle school was fire. Like I'm sure some people were, but most people aren't. Like, I just wish I could go back to middle school and just do middle school over and over again. It's like, but yeah, I was for that. I mean, mostly for being like a chubby kid, and then, but actually it was for being like, too smart or like speaking weird, or yeah, I mean it was centered around that too. But I think the thing that hurt the most was the chubby bullying, like the weight bullying, that type of stuff. The other stuff was like, it kind of, even at the time, it was like, I don't really care that y'all think I'm weird for like liking all this nerdy stuff or talking about that, but like the appearance thing was like, that one kind of stuck with me, so.
Yeah, I mean, and now with social media, I feel like those kids, I mean, like, I don't know if you've seen Bo Burnham's 8th grade movie.
Yeah.
And it just like focuses in on like how much self-image matters to these middle school kids and high schoolers too. And I mean, I feel like your callbacks to those things might, I don't know if it's just a way to like say like, I'm over it now. Like I can freely say Pidgeot in my rap. Like I'm cool with it. And I know the other night you were talking about how you drew the line in the sand between being a Nick kid and being like Disney. Yeah. You're like, Mickey Mouse, get out of my face.
Yeah, I'm not messing with
like,
that.
I'm all about the Rugrats. I'm all about the Hey Arnold.
Yeah, even Doug. I watch some Doug. You know what I'm saying?
Why haven't you thrown a rap over the Doug beat?
I did like an unreleased song over what is it? It's like Strumming on My Banjo from Doug. You remember that?
Yeah, Hitting on the Street Lights.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done it, but we just can't hear it.
There's a lot of songs that is, as an artist you make and never come out, so.
So what made Nick gain your allegiance enough to make that song and to draw the line in the sand and say, no, Disney?
I honestly probably early, like super early in my childhood, probably my mom felt like it was the most appropriate like kids station. Just thinking about how my mom was like raised me and stuff. Probably she was like, oh, the kids are maybe the least rude on this. This is the least crude humor. There's no like blood or whatever. So Nickelodeon is probably what she like kind of put in front of me, and then it just like went from there. Cause it also had like, Nickelodeon also had Nick Jr. and mom had a daycare at one point. So it probably was like, all right, Nickelodeon's cool. You got these like developmental shows on Nick Jr. and then it goes into something that, she could get behind. But cause Cartoon Network had some heat, like for sure. Like Cartoon Network shows also were very fire, but mom wasn't into like some of the like more adult jokes that they would like slip in. I think Cartoon Network had like, sometimes they would have reruns of like Ren and Stimpy or something, and I think Cow and Chicken, and mom was not with that. Like she wasn't with the humor that was on that type of stuff. And then Adult Swim, she was like, oh, if you watch it too late or at the wrong time, then Adult Swim comes on. So she wasn't with that. So I think it probably started with her, and then I just got super into like, Rugrats, Hey Arnold, Doug, Rocket Power. I mean, it was definitely like a golden age. And then all the like live action shows where they were just like sliming people all the time, kids competing in like Double Dare and Legends of the Hidden Temple. That's what it was called, right? Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah,
and,
filmed here in Orlando.
Yeah. So, that's right. So you're gonna definitely be able to fact check all this stuff.
Yeah, I think that we fact checked that you were on the show for
Double Dare 2000. Yeah. Was I?
You were on Double Dare 2000, right?
Well, you fact checked it, so I'm asking you.
Yeah. How was that?
Oh, so I guess the fact check is yes.
No, I mean the fact check is yes.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. I just wanted them to know that. Yes. The Blue Bubble Beams was the name of our team. I named both teams. And they were the Red Flamethrowers and we were the Blue Bubble Beams.
Alliteration on point.
Yeah, and see the thing is they let me name the teams because nobody else wanted to like step up and like, you know, when the host is asking, you know, backstage like, oh, what should the names be or whatever, everybody's like, oh, we're gonna act shy. I'm like, I'm not gonna act shy. I'm gonna name us, and not only am I gonna name us, I'm gonna name them. I named us so that we're water Pokemon and they're fire Pokemon. They were done from the beginning and they didn't even say anything.
Weakness.
They just let it happen.
times.
And then we beat them. And of course we beat them because they were the Red Flamethrowers and we were the Blue Bubble Beams. If they knew what they were doing, they would have been like, no, we're not going to be the Red Flamethrowers and then be the Blue Bubble Beams. You know, it was a test. It was like, are they worthy competitors of us? That was the test, me naming them. It was over. It was over before it started.
They're like, no, we want to be the green Razor Leafs.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's what they should have done. If they would have done that, then I would have been like, guys, we need to circle the wagons. We got to come up with a game plan because these are formidable opponents. But as soon as they accepted that name, I was like, we got this in the bag.
No, we got to call Professor Oak
Yeah,
and figure this out. Okay, so when you're on the show though, like, every kid wants to get slimed. Did you get slimed?
Yes, I didn't get like over the head slimed. My parents did. My challenge was to like get a flag out of this big banana that was filled with yellow slime. So I I stuck my arms in there and like had to reach for it and all that. But my mom had like a soda machine thing that she had to like, or no, actually that was my dad. I think, yeah, my dad had the soda machine thing because he fell. And that was like pouring stuff on him. Mom had like a desktop computer big structure and she had to jump on the computer keys to get a flag. And I think at the very end we were like about to run out of time. I think I was gonna go down like a chocolate slide into something, but like we ran out of time. But yeah,
So did you?
there
win
was slime
anything?
involved. Yes. This was an important part of my childhood, was like going on the show. But what we won just shifted everything. I won a Nintendo 64.
Praise
Life
God.
changing. A Nintendo 64, a translucent TV. You remember those? Like they made everything translucent at the time, like computers, TVs, all that stuff.
Yes,
Like-
but not politicians.
Not politicians. Yes, correct. So boom, had the TV and the Nintendo 64. That's all. I was like, cool. I mean, we won like a trip to Vermont. We won like a keyboard, a boogie board, whole bunch of stuff. Didn't care. Once the Nintendo 64 happened, that's all I cared about. You know.
Well, we'll have to have you back because I'm sure it was disappointing to go to Universal yesterday and not see any Nickelodeon stuff. But in a
Yeah.
couple years, we're going to have Super Nintendo World here in Orlando.
Oh,
So you'll be able to live your
shoot.
N64 dreams.
Nah, that's crazy.
there. Yeah. Now
I was wondering if they were going to kind of like replace Nickelodeon Studios with something else. Is it going to be Universal that's doing it?
it's a
Or
brand new park.
Oh, but just Nintendo doing it?
It's a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're going to have.
It's
like,
you doing it. You're being cryptic. It's your venture.
Look, out when I'm not in here hosting you. My other job, I mean, it's no big deal, okay? I can't really speak about it right now,
Yeah,
but
I'm
man,
getting
holy
that
smoke,
vibe.
it's amazing. Now, were you living here in Florida?
Yeah, I lived in Winter Haven.
Okay,
Florida.
because you weren't born in Florida.
No,
And
I was-
you weren't born in Tennessee.
Correct.
So, like, I'm curious, kind of, I guess, your origin story and like kind of playing back like the 90s for you, because I mean, like right now the MCU has taken over media, and like origin stories are all the rave.
Yeah.
So like if Marvel, if like Kevin Feige took your life and said, all right, we're going to play back Dill's childhood, like 90s life, like what was going on with all those moves? I mean, California, Florida, Tennessee, who knows where else?
Right. Yeah. We don't have enough time for my origin story. It's so convoluted. It would be the greatest comic ever. The Kevin, what's his name? Kevin
Feige.
Kevin Feige. That was too deep for me. I didn't know who that was, and they probably could see it on my face. Nothing happened in my brain when you said that.
He's over the MCU.
Reference. Okay, got it. All right. So yeah, I lived in 9 states before I was 9 years old. California, Texas, Kentucky, Illinois, Florida, New York, and then Tennessee. And that was all. Tennessee was when I was 9. Like it was all those, and then Tennessee. So I've lived like in every region. I've spent significant time in every region except the Northwest. And I think that was like really big for my development too. It's probably also why I make so many like connections, and my experience is like extremely varied from like a very young age. But yeah, so obviously I was living in those states for like 8 months to 18 months, you know, some of those states. It wasn't a long time. I was only 9 when I got to Tennessee. So I think Winter Haven was probably, you know, when you're that young, like 1 year is 1/7 of your life. So it's a long time, you know. It's like, it felt like a long time. I remember all my friends. I remember like the school, everything from, you know, auditioning for Double Dare and all that stuff. But I think it probably was only, somewhere between 9 months, 12 months, maybe, you know, maybe like 16 months or something like that. But yeah, I think all of those, like I especially since I was so young, I had different developmental stages in each of those states, made friends in each of those states, and kind of took and just had like this like collage of a childhood, you know, of like memories and experiences to kind of pull from. And yeah, I really think that's why my brain like makes connections between things that people might not see connections to. And yeah, there's something to that, like moving around, always being the new kid. My mom always framed all of it as like each move as a very cool like opportunity, and always framed it very, very in a very positive light. So it was always like an adventure. It was never upset about it or like scared about it or like sad about leaving friends. She was very good at like, oh, you don't have to stop being friends, and we're gonna make new friends. We're gonna like go to a new place. It's gonna be like a new adventure. And so I got good at, it's like a gift and a curse, because I got good at leaving and kind of not feeling that sadness, you know. It's very easy for me even now to travel. If I had to move away like from even my like very best friends, of course I'd be sad. I'm a human, but I am a human, I promise. But it wouldn't be like as hard for me as I think the average person, you know. I would be like, we're gonna see him again, because that's another thing. Mom would like, we would always take trips, and whenever we take a trip, we see the people that, you know, we've built these relationships with, even if it was like years before or whatever. my mom actually just came through like the other week, and they live in Arizona now. They haven't lived here in like 10 years, and she came to see us, and then her and my grandparents went down to like the area that I grew up in Tennessee, in Bedford County, to see like all the friends that they had made there. So like that's just kind of like a reoccurring rhythm in my life. So it kind of like affects it affects a lot. Actually, the only time that I was upset that we were moving was from New York to Tennessee. That was the only move. And it was because we had lived in the South, but I was too young to like know any type of like history, like any type of racial tension, or like history about the South. But in New York, I was old enough. So like, Dad was like, "Oh, we're moving again." That wasn't that big a deal. But then when he said we were moving to Tennessee, that was a big deal. It was a big deal for my mom too. I think it probably was as big a deal to me because I could see how like Mom reacted. She did not want to live in the South. She specifically did not want to raise like her sons in the South. And so she was kind of like scared and upset about that. Try to put on a brave face, but definitely scared of that reality for sure.
Afraid of what exactly? Just like racial inequality?
Yeah. So I mean, they're mom and dad born and raised in California. Their mom's parents going back 3 generations, and dad's 2 generations, like in California. So they're like rooted there, and the West Coast is, especially the Bay Area where they're from, very diverse, and just doesn't have like, has very little slavery history, and a more mild Jim Crow history than the South. I mean, it happened everywhere, but South is a whole different ball game, so, and stuff has, as we know now, but I think at the time that we were growing up, a lot of people were, well, I guess a lot of people still deny it now, but a lot of people were very uneducated and denied that stuff was still going on. I mean, in the 90s, there were still people being drugged behind trucks in Mississippi, and still being lynched, and police brutality, profiling. This stuff happens whether the cameras are there or not. I think that having everybody having access to high quality cameras, not only high quality cameras, but then internet access to immediately be able to upload and share, without gatekeepers, without having to run to a news station and being like, "I caught this on my camcorder," or I caught this on my digital camera. We need you to run a story or go into the newspaper. I have this information, and it's just, I'm going to post this right now. You know what I mean? And so I think that those barriers have come down, and it's allowed that stuff to kind of, especially with the new generations coming up, like that's what has put it in the mainstream news cycle. Not that it's just now happening, but that that access to kind of like the gates to accountability have been lowered, because people, like anybody, can upload video and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is now a new problem, because people can chop it, screw it, however they want to do it, and put it out there for everyone to view it.
Yeah.
And
okay.
it's
All
like, no longer is it whether or not you're seeing it, it is how believable is this and stuff.
Yeah.
And for you, like, okay, you're moving around and,
Right.
and like, it sounds like your family loves the city, but I'm guessing you're moving to these places because of your dad's job,
Yes.
his work.
Right.
Now to go into, so like fast forward your story up to like after high school, post high school, you were telling me about some of your work,
Right.
some of the jobs that you did, and you were working with stuff, and I feel like God was laying the tracks for you to become a rapper.
Right.
But he had you teaching kids, right?
Yes, he did. Organization called Southern Word. Shout out Southern Word in Nashville. Largest spoken word poetry organization for the youth in the Southeast. Shout out southernword.org. Southernword.org.
Who are you hoping goes to that website?
Really anybody, but especially people in the Tennessee area, students, even students that aren't in that area, because it will direct you to like the programs in your area. But essentially Southern Word is just it's a lot of things, but it is essentially using spoken word poetry, songwriting, song production, hip hop, a lot of different interdisciplinary arts to educate people in underserved communities, and also in all communities, but there's just a heart for the underserved communities, and students who have been overlooked for different reasons. A lot of students that have been given, like, people have given up on them. I've seen them really come into their own and blossom and succeed, in large part to Southern Word and the specific poet mentors that they have been connected to within the organization. So yeah, when I was working there, what a normal day would look like is sometimes we would go to a high school in the area and we would embed in an English class for an agreed upon amount of time during the semester, and we would help we would work with the teacher to help the students understand literary devices and different concepts within usually English, language arts, reading. Sometimes if the school had like an actual poetry class, and yes, some of the most rewarding moments for me were kids who they felt like they didn't understand, metaphor, simile, alliteration, allusion, whatever the literary device may be, and it's because the curriculum for inner city Nashville is calling for them to learn these concepts through Emily Dickinson and Walt Whitman, and there's no connection to these kids' culture or their lives or what's going on around them. It's just not, it's not relatable, and so I could go in there and be like, you guys actually already know all of these literary devices, and they're looking at me like, you're crazy. Like, they've already given up on the test too. They're like, we know that we're dumb. We can't do that. And that's the effect of like when the curriculum just completely misses on relatability and culture, is like, it makes the kids feel like it's an implicit statement that they're stupid because they're not connected to these artists or these concepts or these writers, and I'm like, you guys already understand it. What's your favorite hip hop song? What's your favorite hip hop artist? That's where I would always start. And they say somebody they think I don't know, Young Boy. You don't know nothing about Young Boy. I'm like, I know Young Boy. He's cool. He's going crazy on YouTube right now. Young Boy. And then, all right, what's your favorite song? What's your favorite lyric from it? And they tell me. I'm like, okay, boom. That's metaphor. That's simile. This is allusion. This is what he's alluding to. And they're like, you're lying. I'm like, no. I'm like, you already know it. Like, you probably write you probably write stuff in the lunchroom that has all of these literary devices, and then break it down to them, show them some songs they know, and break down the different literary devices, show them songs that I've done, break down the literary devices, and it was just a way. I saw so much like confidence, so much understanding, and of course the stuff that the school wants is raise test scores and all that. And Southern Word, the stats that Southern Word has are incredible. Speaks for itself. SouthernWord.org. But yeah, man, and it's more than that too. We hosted like poetry slams all throughout the cities, or all throughout the city. And we kind of had like a circuit that was set up like a sports season. So, there's a slam at this school, and everybody comes and presents the stuff they've been working on in our different workshops. And then the finalists from that go to this slam at this theater or at this school. And then, there's one, and we actually were in 5 different counties. So it's like county against county. And then it all culminates into State of the Word, which would be at one of the universities in Nashville, like in one of their auditoriums or theaters, which is just like a really cool thing for those students, something they haven't experienced. The mayor would come out, poet laureate would come out, all these people to come support the kids, and they go up there and perform their pieces. And then, there's a winner, and somebody is crowned like the youth poet laureate of Nashville. And then that would culminate into this nationwide thing called Brave New Voices in DC. And that's like kind of the winners and youth poet laureates from different organizations all over the country come there and, meet the president. It's like a really cool thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Like,
yeah. I mean, if I was a kid in the Nashville area,
yeah,
it's Nashville area only. I mean,
no, it's not only, but that's like where it's headquartered. But really,
regardless of where you are,
yeah.
I would be going to this website to try to see if my child could like get involved in that, because that's super cool.
Yes.
I used to be a teacher myself. I went by Mr. Debo. Did you go by Mr. No Big Deal?
No. Definitely not that.
Okay.
I think I just went by Dill. They let us just kind of be artistic with our stuff, but
that's cool.
Yeah. No matter what, not Mr. No Big Deal.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. Never would be a thing. Just so everybody knows.
One of the most rewarding things for me is like kids that have now grown up reaching back out to me. Have you, and like saying, Mr. Debo, you meant so much to me.
Yeah.
Like you had this effect and you like shifted my life. Like, have you had that with any of the kids?
Yeah, for sure.
It's amazing.
It's crazy. They'll over the like last few years, they've like found my music, and then they'll hit me on Instagram. And they're like, you probably like, they feel like I'm super famous, which is not something that I feel like at all. It's not even something that's true. But
you are. You don't get on the show if you're not.
Okay. Well, for y'all's brand, I'll concede that, but it's not true. It's not true. But yeah, they feel like I'm extremely famous, and they're like, you probably don't remember me. This is my name. And I remember all of them. I'm like, of course I remember you, like, say something specific to that student. And that's just like crazy to them. They're like, and then some of them are artists in their own right now. Actually, a lot of them are artists in their own right now. And I follow some of them. Some of them have become producers and are excellent at it. Diamond Store, shout out Diamond Store. So I still have like that, even a working relationship with some of them. And there's some on the horizon too. So
that's awesome. Cause I always wonder, like, okay, what career path do you choose? You don't go to college. There's not a rap college.
Right.
And like P. Diddy's not doing his show anymore to get rappers.
Making the band. Oh, wow.
Yeah. That show was about you, wasn't it? Dylan.
Yeah, it was about me. Dylan.
I always thought it was about me, man.
Because I spit hot fire. Well, you spell your name wrong, so it couldn't be about you because his name is spelled correctly. So
wow. Now I know who I'm dealing with. Okay.
Yeah.
You got the upper hand on me.
Right.
So sorry. But I think that your music is what I'll say. Your genre is what teenagers like. You talk about middle school, you talk about high school. Like that is the stuff they're listening to. Like I do Young Life Ministry, and those kids are like, Debo, check out my playlist, and they send me this Spotify list, and it's mostly just trash rap, like just vulgarity.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, if I listened to the edited version of this, it would just be it would sound like I flatlined in the hospital.
Sine wave. Yeah.
I'm like, how are you? Like, and so I try to like send them, stuff that I think is a little more appropriate.
Right. No big deal. Indie Tribe.
No Big Deal.
Yeah.
Indie Tribe. Yeah.
John Keith, Mowgli the Iceberg, DJ Mike LV. Right. Yes,
exactly.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, how is it now? Like, you had that influence on those kids when you were teaching them poetry, and now your influence has multiplied. So, like, what is that message that you are trying to get across to that next generation that's got Indie Tribe and No Big Deal in their ears, and that's what they're listening to?
Yeah, I think it's really cool to not only, like, hold on, my brain is recalculating. I think it's cool to make music about love and a joyous connection to God, and how that affects your whole world and the people around you. That's how I would kind of define my music and Indie Tribe's music from 30,000 feet up. I think it's cool to make that. But to the students and to the kids, it's cooler to make that and it actually work. You know what I mean? Like if I was doing it and it didn't work, they would be like, they would still like me because of our relationship, like with Southern Word. But when they see it and it works and it's like big to them, then they're like, dang, like, it just makes it more attractive, And obviously, something doing numbers doesn't mean, like, that's not the validation necessarily that we're looking for. And that doesn't mean that that by itself isn't going to change hearts. But it's really cool. It gives you their ear, you know what I mean? When it is kind of doing numbers, and when you move excellently, more than the numbers, it's like moving correctly, like even this podcast, like this looks great, you know what I mean? Like this is the right type of audio technology. These are the right microphones, the lighting, like the room, all of that stuff. You could do the same exact podcast and we could be using like the corded like earbuds, and like pulling the microphone up to the mic, like the little microphone on the corded earbuds. We could do that. We could put it out, everything. You know what I mean? There could be a phone pointed at me, and we could put it out. But a lot of people, there's so much noise, there's so much being promoted and comes across people's screens and their ears every day that's not going to break through the noise. You know what I mean? Like the production value has to be right. So like in the same way, it's really hard to grab the attention of their eyes and their ears and to be able to give them that message if the quality is not there. If it's not something that can compete with kind of like, you were saying there's a lot of negative messages and harmful messages, right? If the production value on those negative and harmful messages is better than ours, why would they listen to ours? You know what I mean? So like when they come to my Instagram and they're like, that was my teacher, like, they of course they have homies, they have friends like in their neighborhood who rap, and a lot of times it is those harmful and negative messages and there's a lot of reasons behind that. I'm not blaming anybody, but when they see what I'm doing and seeing how it's working and stuff, they're like, maybe there's something to that, and they're much more likely to listen to the actual lyrics and the message, and I've seen that happen. So I think sometimes people may sleep on how much the methodology actually matters. They're just like, man, if my heart's in the right place and the message is good, like God's gonna do something with that. He absolutely can, and he historically has. You know what I mean? But at the same time, cutting corners and not being excellent and not using wisdom and not moving in preparation, those are all anti-biblical things. Like wisdom, preparation, moving in excellence, honoring the Lord with your first fruits, with the best of your gifts. That's all biblical too. You know, he really may take a podcast that just has the earbuds and blow it up, because and that would be to bring him glory, to say like, look, there's no way you can attribute that to, but also moving in preparation, wisdom, excellence, that honors him too. And there's a very logical way that cuts through the noise and attracts eyes and ears and excites people about the messages that you're trying to put out into the world, to inspire people to joy and love and connection to God and connection to people.
Yeah, if this podcast does well, it is not because of the equipment, because I am the host, and let me just tell you, all glory will be to God. If this thing,
you cancel out how good the equipment is what you're saying.
I'm saying if
your words, not mine.
I'm the Titanic of boats, okay? I'm hitting the iceberg, and it's not Mowgli, okay?
Okay, all right. I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like our rebellious hearts sometimes lead us to those types of music or types of media, but sometimes, like you said, it's just the quality.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter that Chick-fil-A is like this Christian restaurant. Like their quality is high enough to where people just want it.
Right.
And so if you can get into the minds and into the ears of the teenagers, the whoever, and them just say, no, that's good music. Mm-hmm. Like, and then you start seeing, because, we were talking about top 5 rappers.
Yes.
And when you talk to people and you ask them their top 5 anything, generally, whether it be rap, rock, pop, whatever, Christian artists aren't going to pop up in those top 5. And not to say that the quality is not there, but there is something about that disconnect. And I mean, we've all seen like the worst of the worst that Christian music and Christian media has put out. Like we've seen the stuff that makes us cringe a little bit. And it's
like Two Honks and a Negro by DC Talk. You're going to have to cut that out, aren't you?
No. No.
Two Honks and a Negro by DC Talk, still up on streaming.
Take
right
it off,
now,
please. And why was that even made? It's like, what, 25 seconds?
I'm going to say this because we have a lot of time, so I can riff on this for a second. So remember what you were going to say, but I'm not going to say to their defense, but so that I'm representing correctly what happened and not just completely one side villainizing it.
Yeah,
I actually know. I researched because I had the same question as you. Why did they go into the studio and record this? Okay, they didn't go into the studio and record it. It's actually like a little right before cut to commercial skit type thing that DC Talk did on the Arsenio Hall show in around 1990 or something. I don't know. And it's literally the audio from that. Like they ripped the audio from that and like mixed it a little bit and then put it on whatever album it was originally on. And then, but then they re-released and like remastered it and put it out in like 2015 or something, which that's the bigger issue. Why was it on Arsenio? I don't know why Arsenio Hall was cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So when I saw it, I was like, all right. For some reason, Michael Tate thought it was lit. For some reason, Arsenio aired it. So maybe 1990 was a different time. I wasn't alive. Maybe something was going on during that time that made it kind of all right. But the remaster and re-release and like still up, and anybody who hears it now does not have that context. Like nobody knows that. Like maybe people knew it when you released the album in 91 or whatever. So anyway, that's just so I fairly characterize it. They did not go into the studio and write this song and put it out. And I also think it was like couched between, they had some songs about like racial unity. Like they had songs about racial unity.
And that was the glue that stuck it together?
I know, exactly. It doesn't really make sense, but I'm saying they thought it made sense. It wasn't just flippant and malicious. They thought it made sense. But look, this is this is me saying it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be there. But anyway, that was for free. I'm sorry, I derailed your train of thought.
Well, no, it's fine. I mean,
Mr. Debo.
True story. I actually introduced Ashley to it 2 nights ago in the car, and I said, hey, because I saw it on your Instagram,
Yeah.
and I was like, you got to hear this. You've got to experience this awkwardness. And she heard it, and she's just like, that's a Christian artist? And the next song I played, I was like, this is Jesus Freak. This is like their number one song. Yeah. And she was like, what?
Right.
Why?
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know.
Yes.
And I'm sure No Big Deal has something to say about it. And you did.
I did.
So thank you. And I hope you have something to say. We'll get a little bit more back on track.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So we went through your childhood. We went through your after high school years. And now, like, it's the pinnacle of what happens to Dill. Does he go into his rap career, or does he just, like, maybe, do something safe, like more safe?
Yeah.
Because you were, you kind of got connected with Derek Minor.
Yes.
And so now, I mean, that's a big deal. Yeah. And you're like bumping shoulders with a lot of famous people. Is like, what was going on during that time? You were his road manager?
Yeah, I actually interned at Reflection Music Group. Shout out Derek Minor and Reflection Music Group. So I started out as an intern with the independent label that he owns. And I mean, I was sweeping floors, cleaning the studio. One time, like the pipes burst or something, and I was like drying out the back kitchen. I mean, I was an intern, and also kind of just hanging around. Actually, the beginning of that story is I was at MTSU. Shout out MTSU, great school. A lot of like Christian hip hop artists have some kind of connection with MTSU. Lecrae went there for a couple semesters. Street Symphony, which he's a Grammy Award winning producer for a ton of artists like Christian and mainstream, but he got a Grammy with Lecrae and some other people. He went there. Derek Minor graduated from there. I graduated from there. Mowgli the Iceberg graduated from there. There's people I'm missing too, but even more producers and A&Rs and stuff. So it's like it's got a pretty cool roster of alumni within Christian hip hop. It also just has a huge alumni in the music industry in general, but for Christian hip hop, it's a powerhouse too. So while I was at MTSU, I was kind of training to be an artist manager. So I was managing one of my friends at MTSU, and Derek Minor was coming back to MTSU to speak to the Christian Music Society. So I was like, we need to go to this, and afterwards, like, we need to try to go up to him and like meet him and hopefully show him something. Like, we were just in like kind of grind mode, and I was trying to, be the artist manager, whatever. So he came in, he spoke, and I was like, all right, now's our chance. We need to go up there. And so I go up there and I introduce myself and say, this is my artist, and we'd love to like show you some music. And he was like, I was very nervous. He was way cooler than I thought. He was like, yeah, like, come on outside to the truck, and we'll I can play it and listen to it or whatever. I was not expecting that. And now, being in the music industry for a long time, that's kind of crazy that he said that. But so we went out there, played the music. He was like, I don't even remember what song it was. I know it was my homie Rylan. Shout out Rylan Exum. I think at the time your name was Sano, or it might have been Yashua Sirius. He had many different names, just like I have many different names. But shout out Rylan, the homie. Yeah, so we listened to the music. He was like, yeah, man, this is really cool. But he was more interested in, like, I know now, he was more interested in kind of mentoring us, and since we were local boys, like bringing us out to the studios that they had in Murfreesboro, where I live now. and kind of like, I think he just saw something I think the song probably wasn't good, but he saw, I think it wasn't like, but he saw like how we were grinding. He saw our spirit, and definitely he has a heart to like develop younger artists and younger men in general. And I think he was like, I want to bring these guys out to the studio. I want to kind of like build a relationship with them. He like ended up inviting us to like Bible study and different stuff. And that was like an amazing time, because we were like, dang, we get to go to Derek Miner's studio, like learn about Reflection Music Group, hang out. And so that started like a whole thing. And even more of my friends kind of like joined that group. And that was like a formative time for us. And so through that process, I think the next year at MTSU, you need to have an internship to get the credit. I was getting a music business degree, so they want you to have an internship your junior and your senior year. I actually think I started interning for them sophomore year. I wanted to get ahead of the game, and so started interning there at RMG. Like I said, doing the intern thing, and they liked my work there, so then made me a merchandise manager for the artists there. So I'd be selling the merch at their shows, and I was in charge of like inventory and all that. And then eventually became a road manager. So it was like working my way up from that beginning time as Derek was putting out music and RMG was getting bigger and bigger. And yeah, through that process of becoming a road manager, that's when, once I was Derek's road manager, merchandise manager, road manager, that's when I started meeting all these different people, these bigger artists, these famous artists Christian music in general, and definitely in Christian hip hop. That's when I met Lecrae and Andy, and actually that's not when I met Andy, but it is when I met Lecrae and Tadashi Tripoli, the Reach Records guys. Really, I met so many people in Christian hip hop and Christian music. But when I met them, and I was making music at the time, Derek was allowing us to use his studio. He ended up giving us an extra key. He was like extremely generous and
Wow.
instrumental in all of our development at that time. But yeah, he would just give us a key. Like, he trusted us that much after spending like a lot of time with us, and we would record stuff, and he wasn't even listening to it. He was just like, yeah, y'all like go experiment, whatever. Through that process is when I met all those people. I had been making music in Derek's studio. He hadn't heard it yet. And I also didn't want to, like, while I was a road manager, that's what I was doing. If I was out on the road, I was a road manager, I was a merchandise manager. I wasn't going to use it as a backdoor to show my music to Lecrae or show my music to whoever, because I didn't want to be the guy who was like, yo, check out my mixtape. You know what I mean? They get that like all day long. And I knew that from being a road manager. Like, man, yeah.
That takes humility.
Yeah.
And patience.
Some of it was that. I'm not going to deny that the Spirit was working in those ways. And some of it was just, I don't want to look like these people that I have to, as a road manager, deal with night after night, who are they're supposed to be in the meet and greet line, and they're supposed to take a picture or get an autograph, and they're there under that, like, guys, and then they get up to the table, and while the artist is taking a picture, they're whispering in their ear, like, yo, check out my mixtape, or like, can I freestyle for you? Even though we've said like we're just doing picture with it, And so I'm like, how bad would it be for them to do that all night? And then we get back on the bus like, hey, yo, check out my mixtape. You know what I mean? Like, that's gonna, and people do that, but I'm like, this is gonna burn the bridge. This is not gonna be a good idea. So, but that ended up being, and then I would say the third component is that's just kind of part of my personality. Like, it is the Spirit working in me in humility. It is me trying not to be the mixtape guy. And then I don't want relationships to be based on like, I don't want to just make relationships so that I can like take advantage of somebody's position, that's just not me. So, yeah, like for example, I was on the road with Derek and Lecrae in 2013 for Winter Jam. So that's like 3 months, 4 months, 3 or 4 months, a ton of shows. I can't even remember. Like, I don't even know. Feels like 60 shows or something like that. And never showed like Lecrae my music. Didn't tell him I was a rapper or anything. No. And I was like gearing up to like put stuff out and didn't tell him. But that ends up paying off, because whenever they did find out about my music, usually it would be from once Derek did hear my music. So all right, let me back up. So we're back in the studio now, right? And it's me and my friends in there. Derek comes in. He's left something in the studio. He opens up the door. He's like grabbing this thing. Oh, I'm just grabbing this, whatever. And he's like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "This is me." He's like, "That's you?" And I'm like,
Why was he shocked?
he just hadn't heard anything yet. And he probably was shocked because of the first music that we showed him, like, okay, we had showed him that one, like at the, like outside of MTSU. And then like a couple times over the, like when we were doing longer tours, like, and shout out Cannon, the rapper Cannon, we were like closer, like, it's not that we were closer than me and Derek, but we were closer in age and closer in like, he would like pick on me like an older brother. Like Derek was like the boss. Cannon was like, I think he's just 1 or 2 years older than me or something, and he was like always trying to haze me and prank me and stuff like that, right? So I felt more comfortable like showing him the music, because I knew it wasn't like I'm trying to leverage this relationship. We were like more, I guess peers is a good term, like at least in like age and stuff. And so, he had heard the music, and so I remember him playing a song on a long tour that we were doing, that whole record label. I was still I think I was an intern at the time, because the music was not good. And Cannon's got the phone, and he's like controlling the music, and he just like goes to one of my songs, and I'm like petrified. I knew the music wasn't ready at this time, and he's playing it like for the whole label to hear, like we're in like an expedition or something. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't say this is Dill. He just plays it, right? And it's not good, and nobody reacts at all, which is the worst. Like the songs that had been playing, he had been playing bangers, so everybody's like, having a good time, like, all right, road trip. Plays that, everybody kind of like, and then it just kind of like goes silent, and then now people are just kind of riding. Like before, like everybody, and now everybody's just kind of like looking out of the window and stuff. I'm like, he's like dying. He's like trying to contain himself, as he always is. And I'm like, this is the worst. And nothing happens. Like, he doesn't say it's me or anything. It just goes to the next song, and then people are like, jamming again, whatever. And so
I was like, that was weird.
I actually told this story to Derek like years later, and he was like, I didn't even know I had ever heard your music. And I'm like, yeah, because when he played, it was bad, and I didn't want anybody to know. And Cannon didn't say anything, so I was just like, and Derek thought that was hilarious. He's like, I didn't even know your music played. I was like, yeah, that was the Lord. But, yeah. So the first time that Derek knew that he heard my music was in the studio, and that's when I was ready by that time. The stuff was more polished. We had time to kind of like figure it out. The song was called Indie, and it was kind of like the beginning of also like the philosophy of Indie Tribe was like in that song or whatever. And he thought it was dope. Couldn't believe it was me. He tweeted it out. That was like when I got my first kind of like introduction to the fan base of Christian hip hop. Like, oh, the fans are like, Derek Minor just tweeted out this new artist, this new song I haven't seen. Listen to it, start getting fans that way. So when he started kind of showing all the people I had already met in the capacity of road manager or merch managing my music, then they were much more likely to like support and share, because they're like, wait a minute, we've known this guy for years at this point and he never tried to push his music on us. Like, that made them want to like share it and support it, especially since, you know, they thought it was good, you know. So it like paid off a lot to not be the mixtape guy and just to build these relationships behind the scenes genuinely without trying to leverage them, and really serving them through being like merch and road manager and whatever. And then, you know, when they heard the music, they like immediately supported. Lecrae was putting it on his Instagram stories, and Propaganda. I remember when Propaganda retweeted it, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, you know, it was like every camp in CHH was in Christian hip hop was supporting, and I was like, man, this is amazing, you know. So yeah.
And you were so good that Derek fired you.
Yeah, he did. That's a funny sentence, but yeah. Derek, yeah. So I was road managing. I was mid at road managing, meaning I was average. I think I had some good runs. I made some pretty big mistakes, and so he sat me down one day and he was like, "Do you want to be a road manager? Your whole life, or do you want to be an artist? Like, what would you actually rather be?" And I was like, well, you know, I would, in a perfect world, I'd be an artist, but it's too risky. You know, I've gone to school for music business. I think I can do this. You know, so I'll just stay a road manager. He was like, cool, you're fired. And I was like, I'm looking like, what? And he's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, that moment was crazy. And he's like, I know that you won't really pursue becoming an artist if you have a safety net. He said, I don't know anybody who's made it who had a safety net or who had a plan B. Like, you gotta, so you're fired. And I mean, it worked like that. Like, when he said that and fired me, that following year, I put out 3 projects. Like,
in 1 year.
Smoke Signal, Summer Camp Sessions, and No Dylans, all in 1 year in 2015. And that was, I was gonna say a large part, but not a large part. Like, the whole part was because he did cut that safety net, and I lost that stream of income. So it was like time to go, you know. Had to work a full-time job while I was making all those, and that's where Southern Word came in, which we talked about earlier. But yeah, I mean, and that's actually where those two combine, because like the knowledge that I got for the music business and for marketing and all that side of it from MTSU and largely from Reflection Music Group and Derek, combined with him cutting that safety net, combined with working with literary devices and writing, and the energy of the students every day in Southern Word, just like all came together. Yeah, for real. Like, and
man, he
yeah,
cut your safety net so that you could make suicide nets.
Hey,
and
you know?
he sparked the fire that has now created the Holy Smoke Fest.
Come on, Mr. Debo.
Like, I feel like it's crazy to hear that even back then you were thinking about Indie Tribe.
Yeah.
And like now, like here we are, like Upper Hand just came out a couple months ago, which has been all I've been listening to since May.
Man.
And now let's keep it going with the Marvel origin story. Like, you are the Captain America.
Okay. I'll take that.
Which is what you told me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want anybody in Indie Tribe to like come at me for calling you the leader, but they call you the Captain America.
Right.
Like, I feel like you have this brain.
They came up with that. Yeah, that's not the people like John and Mowgli and Michael had a discussion about if we were Marvel characters, who would we be? And they decided I was Captain America. So,
who are they?
So DJ Michael V is the Hulk, which yes makes perfect sense.
Angry.
John Keith is Spider-Man,
the funny guy.
Yeah, the extremely skinny, funny, young guy. Like there's a lot of like he's the youngest, the skinniest, the funniest. He's very versatile too. Like Spider-Man's extremely versatile. Like maybe the most versatile like of the superheroes, you know, like because he's super strong, he's fast, he has Spidey sense, like all the web stuff. You know what I mean?
Sometimes says things that he probably shouldn't.
Hey, you know what I'm saying?
You know, Tony Stark's got to like keep him in check.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. And then Mowgli is Doctor Strange.
Because he does weird things with his hands.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know Doctor Strange that well, but they all agreed on it. They know especially John and Michael like know Marvel way more than I do. But isn't Doctor Strange like a genius, like really smart?
I mean, he is a genius.
Okay,
very smart. But I would put smart on like a Bruce Banner. Or I mean, yeah,
but Mowgli can't be the Hulk.
I just think of him as like doing weird stuff with his hands and wearing a cape and like being mysterious and kind of.
I know for a fact
creepy.
If John Keith was in here and you said, I mean, I just know him for doing weird stuff for my hands, John would be like, yes, yes, exactly, yes, that's Mowgli. Like he would definitely.
He's
say
like
that.
the Ricky Bobby of Christian hip hop. Yes. Put that on an album.
I know John would say that. Yes, absolutely. This is John. Yes, absolutely. And then he would accidentally slip into a Denzel impression. Yeah. Anyway, yes.
But
Which
like
is why he's Spider-Man.
Everything that I've seen with Indie Try, like outside of hosting this show, I do community with B2B marketers, like business and business marketers. And so we've been talking about on our marketing team this book called Primal Branding, which we spoke about the other night. And like when I go through the 7 elements of it, I'm like, they're doing it.
Wow.
So okay, I have the 7 elements here because you said you hadn't read the book.
I haven't. Yeah.
So number 1, creation story. Like how did Indie Tribe form? So give me like a spark notes of that.
There's 2 iterations of Indie Tribe, or actually there's 3. The original one in 2014 was me just kind of like uniting a bunch of artists, interdisciplinary artists from MTSU, kind of like we're the new people, we're the underdogs, we're the little guy, none of us are signed, none of us are like part of big corporations. Let's pull all of our resources and our creativity. We also like aligned with values and like message and stuff. So let's pull all of our resources and creativity to so that we can break through the noise of like the mainstream essentially, and just like kind of practice Philippians 2 in not moving in ambition or conceit, but considering others is more important than yourself, not looking out to your own interests, but also the interests of others. So let's give each other platforms whenever we can. That was like the original thing. And then as I got into music and got further into music and released my first projects, then there were Christian hip hop artists who aligned with that vision and wanted to kind of make like an Indie Tribe proper, meaning like a set roster of people where that philosophy like was the epicenter, and then like that philosophy could go out to more people and more people could be a part of it, because that's how it was originally. It wasn't a set roster, it was an idea, philosophy, a lot of people who participated. It was just open, anybody who wanted to be under that. And then it was like, let's make a set roster, me, Mowgli, the Iceberg, and Jerry Mana originally. And then the next year we added What Up RG to that, same concept, same idea. And then as time went on, we started that second iteration of Indie Tribe with the set roster, Mowgli, me, Jerry, RG, at the beginning of our music careers. So we aligned like with our messages and just like our personalities as friends, and we just immediately did it. But we didn't kind of know ourselves as artists or where we wanted our careers to go, what our specific callings within Christian hip hop were at the time. And so as time went on, we started to see, like for Jerry and for RG, my opinion is that they like we all knew ourselves better as artists in a few years, and the goals and the places we wanted to take our artistry. And Indie Tribe for me and Mowgli fit that, like, but for Jerry and RG, it didn't fit what they wanted to do. They didn't know that at first. You know, we all did it in earnest, but as time went on, it was like, this isn't really what we want to do with our careers, and we're on a different trajectory. And so they left, and then John and Michael, I always say we had the luxury, that luxury that we didn't have with Jerry and RG and me and Mowgli, which was there was no history of our career, and we just immediately made it when we first started out. John and Michael, during that whole like 3 to 4 year period, we had the luxury of just knowing them as people and them seeing how Indie Tribe, like the direction of Indie Tribe was going without them being on that. So when they decided to join last year, they had 4 years of understanding the Indie Tribe philosophy, of being friends with us, of learning themselves as artists. So their decision to join was a much more informed decision than the original 4. And that's not anybody's fault. It's just a time thing, you know? And so when they joined, as we've seen kind of with like Upper Hand and stuff, it's like, it was just like, it fit like a glove, you know, because it was just an informed decision. So yeah, that's kind of how like Indie Tribe.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And I mean, they, figuring out like the condensed version of that, not on a podcast, will definitely be like whenever you guys speak to your creation story, just like having that quick like couple lines of just like, you know, something catchy, something cool. Yeah. The second element that he talks about is like the creed. Like your mission statement, your belief. Like here at Young Married Christian, we want to see every child in the foster care system here in America be put into a gospel-centered home.
Nice. Okay.
And you like wrap that up. It's like nice and sweet. So like, what would be Indie Tribe's mission statement?
Right. See, that's funny because you feel like we are executing all of these things, but we're not. Like we don't have these. But I think that we have the what would be distilled into these things. We just haven't done the work of like, what's the elevator pitch of each of these things? You know what I mean?
And maybe that's something you guys figure out.
Yeah, I know that like and I think I told you this off camera earlier, but like our overarching thing is to model and push people into a joyous and loving relationship with God and with people.
Boom.
You know?
Boom.
I feel like it could be more concise, a little bit more.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But that's what I'm saying. We have the things behind it, but we haven't like made here it is, you know. Like our church is multiply gospel change for broken people on purpose. That's like what you're talking about. Indie Tribe doesn't have that like boom.
But you will.
Mic drop.
I feel like by the end of this week, like you're already thinking like it'll be done by the time you get back home. Okay, so number 3 for primal branding is easy for you guys because it's icons, and I see it everywhere. The 4 horses.
Yeah.
Running.
Yes.
And they're running to the left, so they're not like old school Super Nintendo games going to the right.
Right.
They're going to the left.
Yeah.
Is that just because the emoji goes to the left?
It's because the emoji goes to the left.
You want it to go to the right.
I don't care. I don't care which way they go.
Oh, I was going to say.
They're on the move. The thing is that they're on the move.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. Tribe on the move.
Which is number 5, sacred words.
There you go.
Tribe on the move.
Tribe on the move.
You guys already have it.
Yeah. We do have that one. And that's a well-established one.
And I will say, this goes with number 4, rituals, which is something your fans come to expect from repetition. Every time I see one of your videos and it's like boom dum 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 boom dum, like it's serious.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you're not a part of the tribe, scroll up. This isn't for you.
Oh yeah.
And then you get serious, and I'm like, what's about to happen here?
Yeah.
It's getting spicy.
Yeah, I am proud of that intro. I like that intro. We have a lot of them though, because we have like the Tribe on the Move tag. We have the horses running sound at the beginning of projects. We have Chelsea saying, "I really like the people we're becoming."
Yeah, that's Chelsea.
That's Chelsea. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. And Yeah, we have a lot. I have that with the videos. Yeah, so
Okay,
there's a
and then
lot.
the last two. Okay, so pagans is number 6. So like
Pagans?
pagans like Mac has PC. You know, Democrats have Republicans.
Yeah,
So
pagans. That's a fire term. I love that.
so it's like the haters. Like not even haters. It's just like who is the opposite of Indie Tribe? You have Indie Tribe,
pagans.
and then there is
Yeah. There's Indie Tribe, and then there's major labels. That would be one. Those are some pagans.
okay. Is it funny just because you called major labels pagans?
I really like the term pagans.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they use it in the book, but it's also a slang from Toronto. Well, it's actually probably from the Caribbean, but so it made its way into Toronto slang because of the Caribbean influence. But a pagan is kind of their like an opposition.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes sense to me in a lot of ways. I'm like, oh, this is a cohesive term that I really like. I love words. Like,
I mean, you're a wordsmith.
yeah, I nerd out about them. So like hearing it as a branding term and knowing like it's like roadman slang is like making me really happy.
Yeah.
Pagans.
Is 116 click?
No, they're not
pagan?
pagans. They're not pagans. No.
Okay.
Well, unless maybe the term is broader than I think. Because, like, you said Apple and PC. I'm feeling like those are, like, there was some heat with that competition.
Well, like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts would probably be pagans, but if you're a coffee drinker, like Ashley will go to either one.
Yeah, but
some people might be more
Starbucks
passionate.
looks at Dunkin', though, different than we would look at 116. We look at them as those are the homies. Like we just did a song for their playlist. They're like promoting like our festival. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
that's where I feel it. I don't feel like Starbucks would promote a new Dunkin' latte, whereas 116 they will promote our new stuff. Yeah,
They'll promote your new latte
Yeah,
lot,
they
and
will.
they'll promote it a latte.
If I came out with a latte, I know for sure that 116 Reach Records would promote my latte, 100%.
Okay, everything that we've said before this doesn't even matter. We've all led up to this moment. This is the question I've wanted to ask this
Okay.
entire time. Will we ever get to see a 116 and a Indie Tribe rap battle, or
wow.
a full collab?
A full collab.
That might be too many people on one track, but like anything where all of you come together, a mega mix.
Yeah. So like the 116 click proper, like the ones that did a project.
Choose their 4 best.
Their 4 and us 4?
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Maybe eat 4 tracks, a 1v1, 4 different tracks.
Wow. You really want it to be a battle though. Like you don't want it to be cooperation, which is what we're about. You want it to be competition.
No, I just want it to be good fire content. What if it is a collab? What if it's one of yours with one of theirs coming together and you do 4 tracks that way?
That'd be cool. And then the last one has everybody on it.
Yeah, I mean, this is literally going back to what we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Jay-Z and Linkin Park coming together.
No, that would be fire. I am massively open to that.
Yeah. And then number 7, and this is the easy one, is just leaders.
Yeah.
Like when people think of Indie Tribe, I think they think No Big Deal.
Yeah.
I said it, so you didn't have to.
Thanks. Thank you.
So you talked about independent versus being on a label.
Yeah.
Because that's what Indie Tribe is all about, is independent. But at one point, you were with Capitol.
Correct.
Like you even mentioned it, like nothing against Capitol.
Yeah.
But they were after your Capitol.
I dropped lowercase to let you know it ain't about Capital. That's what I said on Holy Smoke.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bar.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bar on Holy Smoke.
And
Drop a bomb. Put a bomb sound effect right here in the podcast. Go Google Flex Bomb and drop the Flex Bomb right here.
And when Capitol came after you, I know that they weren't the only ones that wanted to sign you.
Right.
So did it feel like a college sports draft?
They were actually the last ones who wanted to sign me. There was like a whole this is just fact. This isn't me flexing. There was like 5 labels that were trying to sign me after I released Canopy, my first album. It did well on iTunes. I think it hit Heat Seekers on Billboard, and so there was like a little bidding war, and Capitol actually wasn't part of it. It was like Reach, and then Sony, 300 Entertainment, which is crazy that 300 was interested at all. 300 is like Migos, Young Thug, Gunna, that type. Very successful label. Did not think they'd be interested in me, but yeah, some others. And Capitol actually happened because Marty, shout out Social Club Misfits and Marty for President. What's up? Marty was like, man, all these labels are hitting you now. What is Capitol offering? And I was like, nobody from Capitol has hit me. He's like, what? He was like, hold on. And so he like, apparently he sends Treetops from the Canopy album to his A&R. And like within 15 minutes, his A&R is like contacting me like, hey, like I think we should get coffee, whatever. I'm like, whoa, that was wild, you know? So it was a weird situation because I had like with a big label, it's just a label. It's just a business deal. With the independent labels, Reach, Reflection Music Group, it's like, it feels more personal, right? And I had these, as we've already discussed, these really good friendships at both of these labels, and it kind of felt like it felt like if I chose one, then that would be like choosing one friend over the other, you know. And that I didn't. Capitol was like Switzerland or Sweden or whichever one is neutral. I was like, I'm just going to take this like deal that doesn't have any kind of connotation at all. It's just like paperwork. We're just doing a deal, you know. That was definitely the main driving factor.
Okay.
For picking Capitol versus the indie labels. Picking Capitol versus the other major labels that were in play was Capitol's deal was better. Their head A&R he is just a much better A&R in every way. Like, he makes the label seem more attractive. He meets you, dials into you as a person. His name is Brad. Shout out Brad. And so there wasn't really a comparison between the major labels. Capitol obviously stood out. The hardest decision was the one you just talked about, was Reflection, Reach, Capitol. I was stressed out. I was stressed about that. Like, Chelsea knows. But I ended up just choosing Capitol just to be like, I don't want any other connotation to be attached to me signing than just.
And when you signed with Capitol, was NF already blowing up with Capitol?
Yeah, he was. I'm trying to think of where he was in that process. He was definitely already big. I think Therapy. That's the name of the album. I think Therapy had already come out, which was like super huge. It was. Yeah, he was already big.
Okay,
he was big.
But then, like, when you were with Capitol, like, you left, which is surprising because, like, everything that went on with Kesha, and I feel like labels just kind of, like, have that in the contract that you can't leave. Right. But you were able to leave, and and you said the other night that was because it just wasn't working for you the way that it does for others. It's not that labels are bad, right? But it just wasn't working the way that it was with NF. Right. And that kind of, like, had my mind all twisted, and maybe it's just because I don't understand how labels work.
Right. Yeah.
Like break it down for like people like me that don't know anything about labels. Like, what does that mean for an artist, and how can it be good, and how can it not work out?
For sure. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that choosing Capitol was the correct decision, because I can almost guarantee you, if I signed to another major, other than Capitol CMG, that they wouldn't have let me out of my contract. That's just like the standard thing that happens is, if you sign your name, I signed for 60 masters, essentially 60 songs, however I wanted to package that, whether it was EP, singles, album, some combination of that. I had to give them 60 songs. I did like 13, And in any other major label situation, they'd be like, you have to finish out your contract. Like, you can't, we're not going to let you leave. You know, sometimes they'll let somebody buy you out of the contract. Like, another label who has a lot of money can pay that label to release you. But it's the right belongs to the label once you sign it to release your, unless your contract says both parties have the right to renew or not renew. It's almost always just the label. I tried to get written into my contract to be both sides, but they were like, we're not doing that. And nobody ever does that unless you're like Taylor Swift or something. And so choosing Capitol was the right move because they, at the end of the day, they were just gracious. There was no like leverage that I had to be able to leave because I was unhappy with that year. They had all the leverage, but I had to have like multiple meetings with them because they really wanted me to like stay longer, but they said, you know, I had a lot of like cold hard facts. Like, I don't feel like the growth from my first album, which was independent, to my second album, which was on Capital CMG Solar, I feel like that was that growth was the trajectory I was already on, and that it would have essentially the same thing would have happened whether I was on the label or not. And they looked at the numbers and they essentially agreed and said, we never want to be a label where the artists feel like they're trapped. So, you know, we're just going to release you with no strings attached. So that is not the typical story. And that's why it's not personal. It's not a horror story or anything like that. I'll never take that away from them. But I was unhappy with my deal on a label that is gracious and is willing to do that. So I'm like, how much worse is it in just a standard situation? You know, as far as breaking it down for artists who don't understand, essentially signing a deal with a label is saying, I will give you ownership of what I have created. I will give you ownership of the revenue stream, of the lion's share, the vast majority, in effect, all of the ownership of what I have created, because I believe that your marketing ability and your branding ability is so strong that you're going to blow me up and multiply my platform to the point that I don't even miss the ownership that I gave you. If you can't say that with 100% certainty, then there's no reason to sign a deal. Now, that might sound very ominous, but that does work a lot. That, like, any artist that you see on a label that is successful, that's what happened. You know, pick anybody, Justin Bieber, Drake, it doesn't matter. Like Taylor, your favorite artist that's on a label, if they're truly successful, that's what happened. They gave up the ownership and the label did that. They knocked it out of the park. They multiplied their platform and marketed them so well that now their platform is 10, 20, 50, 100 times what it was before it was on the label. And that ownership that they gave up was completely worth the platform, the money, the ability to create better art because of the money that they put into the production side of the deal. It worked out, but that's the only thing. Like, you should not be signing a deal because of name recognition, just because it's, Bad Boy Records or TDE or whatever it is, that's not true. If TDE wants to sign you, sign every single time. It doesn't matter what the terms are. If Kendrick Lamar's label wants to sign you, sign it.
Would you sign today with TDE?
I would sign today with this is how my mind works. If you pulled a mask up over your head and you were really punched from TDE and you were like, sign this. We own everything. I'd be like, here you go.
It's like all of my branding with any tribe. Peace.
See you later.
Yeah. No.
And then I would FaceTime John, Michael, and Mowgli, and they would 100% support it, especially John.
Yes.
And John would be mad that I didn't like pitch him, but I actually probably would pitch him.
But not John.
Not what?
Did you say John and Mowgli would support?
Everybody would support.
Oh, all three. Okay.
But John would be mad that it wasn't him. Is what I'm saying, essentially.
This
Yeah, that's not true.
Spider-Man.
I would not sign. It would have to be good terms, but I would really want to sign that deal. But it would, if it wasn't good terms, I wouldn't sign it. That's just so everybody knows. But yeah, I see people sign for like brand recognition, or like their favorite artist is on that label, or because there's this like prevailing thought that like independent is minor leagues, you know, D League, and signing to a major or just signing a deal in general is like MLB. You know what I mean? Now you're really doing it. Now you've made it. Now you're really a professional, and everything else is, you know, underneath that. And that's not true at all, you know. But and labels know that people think that, and they let people think that. I mean, I don't think that's evil or anything. I think that's just like, you know, business. I think like a lot, it makes sense. But the labels know that. They know. That's why they roll, like when they're courting you to sign a record deal, they roll out the red carpet. They'll take you to any restaurant. They had me out in underground like restaurants in Nashville that I didn't even know existed, with like all these artists there and stuff. I'm like, where are we right now? Like I've lived in Middle Tennessee since I was 9. Literally, where are we right now? Like I didn't even know this existed, you know. And kind of promise you the world, you know. And sometimes they believe they can deliver. I think with my situation, you know, I was told like, man, we see you as like an international like rap star, essentially, like bigger than everybody in Christian hip hop. Like somebody literally was like, we could get you to the top of Christian hip hop. That would take like maybe a year, but that's not even what we're looking at. We're looking at like making you like Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't really think it was like hot air. I think they've had a lot of success, a ton of success in worship and in CCM. And then NF happened. And I think that made them be like, we can do anything. And that's not what happened, you know. But that was what the conversations were, you know. And again, these conversations are happening in these amazing spots with these amazing people, you know, didn't even know existed. The spots, I knew the people existed. And they just couldn't deliver on those, which is why I was unhappy. But that doesn't give me any legal leverage. Like, that's the thing. They can say all this stuff. And I think that's what, like, gets people wrapped up, is, like, now, and even now, I know, like, the only thing you should be listening to is what is in the contract. Like have a lawyer that understands that too, and be like, okay, they're telling you you're going to be, you know, Drake, but what's in the contract? Do we have budget transparency? This is getting into the weeds and getting technical now, but still, budget transparency, length of term, and track record with your specific genre. If you're in a subgenre, your specific subgenre, because the similarities between me and NF end at rap. Like, we both rap, but rap is so big at this point that's not enough. Like, it has to be much closer, like musically, culturally, aesthetic, targeted fan base, demographic information. It has to be way more specified than just, okay, you guys both rap, you know. And so yeah, that's somewhat of a breakdown. I mean, I could talk about labels and independent for hours. But
Yeah, and I just think it's good because I think a lot of our listeners for this episode specifically are going to be people, that are maybe trying to pursue rap as a career, hip hop as a career, like up and coming, inspiring artists, or maybe they're just like in the music world and they're trying to figure out, because it's like I said, there's not really a school around. I mean, other than maybe MTSU, which it sounds like the path if you're trying to get into the music world. You got to go to MTSU. Maybe before that, do some slam poetry classes.
Yes,
and it's just like knowing about labels, like trying to figure that out. Like I never even thought about that as an artist, of like choosing the independent route. Yeah. Because typically I always thought of like, if you're a musician, you're not making a lot of money probably before you make it big. And so a lot of them look at the label as the bank. Yeah. And they're going to flip the cost, but they got to remember, like you said the other night, it's a loan that you're taking out. Like you are taking out the loan. Yes, they're going to cover your costs, but now you're going to be paying that back. So now in our world with YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram and ways to kind of get your music out there, like I feel like, because back in the day, like there was no way to get your music really out there as an independent artist, but now, I mean, there is. I mean, you're once this drops, the smoke will have cleared from Holy Smoke Festival. Yeah. But like you're a week and a half away from doing your very own festival. Yeah. Which is huge. I mean, there's going to be 3-on-3 basketball.
Yep. Celebrity basketball tournament. We're going to have the world premiere of the Indie Tribe movie. Yeah. Indie Tribe movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah. Somebody's been tuned into the social media. That's right.
It's not just a documentary, guys.
No, it's not. It's not. We're talking Sundance.
I'm so ready.
Cannes.
Will we be able to see the movie?
Is it pronounced Cannes? The movie festival in France or whatever? Cannes. Yeah. We're talking Sundance. We're talking Cannes. We're talking a movie.
Do I have the privilege of watching this like on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime?
No joke.
Or do I have
we're trying to we're figuring something out with Amazon Prime.
Okay.
No joke.
But if I'm at the festival, I'll be able to see the movie.
Yes. People at the festival see it first, see it with us, see it with the director, cinematics. Shout out cinematics. Shout out cinematics.
Yeah, because I want to be experience. There. I have seen your live. Like, I think people need to understand, because let's get this straight. Like, I am a Christian who listens to Christian rap, but sometimes when I think of a live Christian rap concert, I don't think of the crowd getting rowdy. Okay.
Right.
But when I have seen your live performances, I mean, people are getting taken off in stretchers, I think. Like, these kids it's like a mosh pit. Like, I come from the world of Christian hardcore, like slam dance mosh pit. Like, For Today, August Burns of Red, Haste the Day, shout out.
Yeah, and shout them out.
And I think that your live performances might be wilder.
Yeah.
Like,
that's crazy.
Your fans would crush a mosh pit. Wow. I mean, maybe that needs to be the challenge. Maybe those are the pagans out there, the fan bases. Like, let them mosh battle, like a wall of death coming at each other.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, I see you guys as allies. Like, the hardcore kid, like rap kids always saw like hardcore, and I don't know all the subgenres, but as allies, like those are the cool kids on the other side of the spectrum. You know what I mean? There was like a mutual respect, because it's like, well, now a lot of that stuff is pop, but it was the fringe genres. You know what I mean? And it's like you got the pop and mainstream, and it's like, we were looking at you guys like, oh, okay, that's some flavor over there. All right, like, and I always felt respected by the emo and hardcore kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, KB did a song with somebody from the hardcore world.
Probably, yeah.
I believe that we will win. I believe.
Who's on that? I know that song.
I don't know. This is going back to my emo days when I had like a bang that came down to my chin.
Oh, yes.
But, okay, anyways, what I really wanted to do is I want to try to get on stage at Holy Smoke Fest. Okay. So I wrote a bar to see if I'm good enough.
Okay.
So we'll see what you think about this.
All right.
This might just flop hard.
Okay. I'm going to be honest with you, man.
Please be honest, okay? This might be when you like first presented something to Derek Miner, and he was like, I'll take you on tour with me, but you're not a rapper yet.
Yeah, actually, when we first presented something to Derek Minor, his response was, "Let's do a Bible study." So you'll know it. You'll know it flopped if I'm like, "Hey man, you want to dig into the Word a little bit together?" Or
Look, a Bible study with No Big Deal in Chelsea, I'm there for it. If you just want to be the Rafiki to my Simba, I'm there for it.
Okay, wow. All right.
Yeah, I know you talk about Rafiki in your album.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. I don't have a beat, so it's acapella.
I got you.
Right now you're chilling like Dylan. Here's the deal, Debo gonna flow. Deal or no deal, it's the rhythm that I'm feeling. No big deal on my show. So now you know who you're dealing with. The MC of YMC, add an A at the end, like the village people orphan we're trying to set free.
Okay. Can we get some claps in the studio for that? Some claps in the studio. Flex bomb right here. All right. So the wordplay was there.
Mm-hmm.
The wordplay, like legitimately, I liked it. Like it was all like this one thread, the little YMCA thing you did with the village people. You know what I mean? Like wordplay was there. I'm gonna give the wordplay a 7. I'm gonna give the rhythm a 5. I'm gonna give the delivery a 1.
That's
Flex
where
bomb
I failed.
right here.
Man. Hey, look, Mom, I didn't make it. Okay, so
Wordplay was there.
Okay, so my rap career is not going to make it. I can only hope to just be there as a fan. Speaking of fans of you, we've got Chelsea here. Yeah, we're going to bring her in. We're going to get her hooked up, and we're going to talk about marriage and some fun stuff. So let's rock and roll.
Let's get it.
Okay, now that we got Chelsea in here, we're going to hear the real. So I want to know,
Oh, wow.
what was going on behind, like what goes on behind the scenes of, because everybody hears your music, everybody sees what you post, like on social media, like what, we want people to see, but like what's going on behind the scenes of all this? Like, I'm sure it's hard work.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. His specifically for him, but music industry as a whole, the hours, so specifically for him, like in rap and stuff, but music industry as a whole, the hours are weird. They're not normal hours, and I work a normal job, so I'm working normal hours, but people he works with sometimes don't even start working until the evenings, and so there's a lot of trying to figure out a balance of how we can have dinner together and have plans and go to bed together and, be on the same sleep schedule. Those are, I'd say, pretty consistent things we're having to work through and figure out the balance of. And just the fact that he doesn't stop working. Like, he does. He works really hard to try to, carve out time for that. But his phone is his work. It's, that's his personal phone. That's the phone I call him on, but it's also the phone that people are sending him texts saying, hey, we need your mix notes right now. Or, hey, literally yesterday we're at Universal and an email comes through and it's urgent publishing request. And so he's like, hey, I got to call right now. So it's we're even in the middle of a vacation where it's it's just us. We don't know anybody else around. We can do whatever. It's there's still work, and he's independent. So he's an entrepreneur too. He runs this business, and that is demanding in and of itself. So that's kind of it's just kind of constant. Even flying out to come here the night before, he was working till 11 p.m. trying to get stuff done. And then the morning we were flying out, he had an interview at 8:30 in the morning, and we had to leave the house at 10 o'clock to get to the airport. So that's just kind of the normal we have to run with.
And it's just always on. Even when you come on vacation, it doesn't stop.
Right. Yeah, and you have to have your own boundaries though, because otherwise, and that's something that as an independent artist, as an entrepreneur, that's something that comes with it. You're either going to set hard and healthy boundaries, or you're going to be working around the clock. if you have the entrepreneurial spirit, some people, I get if yeah. Anyway, if you're an entrepreneur and you're really doing it, that means you're like a very self-driven person, a self-starter. You dream big and then you execute, right? So those are good things. But without hard and healthy boundaries, because of those personality traits, like you have the danger is being a workaholic and ignoring the people right in front of your face and in around you in community and not and projecting, especially as a believer, projecting this image of following Christ and loving and being sacrificial and being patient and joyous and kind and all of the things that Jesus is and that we strive to be, putting that on social media, projecting that, and then not giving that to your spouse, to the people you do life with, your church, and not even walking that way before God, so I'm still learning. I'm not perfect at it. She was gracious in saying I work hard at trying to have those boundaries, but it's a work in progress, like trying to cultivate those. Like, what are times that the phone is just not in the room, the phone is off, days that I'm just off. As your career grows, it starts to when I feel like when I first was trying to was taking a serious look at boundaries, like we went through this book called The Common Rule with our church, and it's largely about that, about making God honoring, hard and healthy boundaries in a lot of different facets. When I first started looking at that, it was actually easier than now to have those boundaries because less was going on in my career. At the time, it felt like a lot, or like less consequential things. That's better to say. It's the same amount of stuff happening, but it wasn't like, if I have my phone off during this time, I may lose thousands of dollars. Now the hard and healthy like, let's say yesterday I was like, I made a good decision, phones off while we're at Universal. That request comes in, urgent, Nike and LeBron may want to use your song.
Whoa.
But this has to get done today. And I don't turn my phone on until we get back to the hotel and the request is gone and we miss out on that money. Now, even saying that right now, I'm like, that would still be a God-honoring decision. It's real sacrifice, But I'm just saying, so I'm not saying that would be the wrong decision. I'm just saying it starts to get harder when stuff starts to get bigger and people are like, we have to get this done right now. Hello, like I know, like I told everybody before I left, I'm on vacation. I want to be unreachable on, what's today? Thursday? Mm-hmm. On Wednesday. Mm. And that's probably why they put urgent in it. Mm-hmm. They're like, we know you're on vacation, but hello, LeBron. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of people listening, they're not going to be able to necessarily like relate to, oh, my spouse is a rapper or anything, but they can relate to the whole like making boundaries and maybe one person having one schedule and the other person having the opposite schedule, because you're saying you're probably going to work like 9 or like, in the morning right. until, afternoon time. And then that's when he's doing all his work until the wee hours of the night. And so if you have those complete opposite schedules, then it's like, where are you finding that time? Because even your weekends, like you don't have weekends. Like you're constantly on the grind. And so that's something that you guys have had to agree on. Like we're in this. Yeah. Like, you're like, I am marrying this lifestyle. Like it's a lifestyle that you're choosing.
To be fair, I'm married before the lifestyle.
Are you trying to sign with another label? No.
No, I don't mind it at all. I always wanted him to pursue it because I knew he was good at it and he would love to do it. But to be fair, I married him when he was a road manager.
Correct.
And I think that it is so like heartwarming. I wish that our listeners could have heard our conversation on the Tuesday night, because hearing like your support and like how much you believe in him, it's phenomenal to hear that. And I love, like I was even telling Ashley yesterday, like I just appreciate her support of me and what I'm doing. Because like us going out with you guys on a Tuesday night, like that's our weekend night. And, she could easily just be like, I'm going to hang out at home. But, she's like, no, I want to support you in what you're doing. But like going through tough stuff, I know that you guys have been through some tough times. We talked about your first year in marriage, and like you were describing this scene of just like all out chaos. So Can you have like those that are listening in, if you're having like a crazy bad day and you think your life's falling apart, listen to this.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the bed bugs? Yeah, he's talking about the bed bugs.
Well, I was about to say in our actual apartment, the apartment. I mean, it's all of it, but
All of it.
okay, but yeah, go ahead. I mean, the apartment was horrible. The apartment was bad. The apartment was 750 square feet. Okay. That's, people live in that all the time, but ours was horrible. The floor is not a material that exists. The floor was made out of stuff that it's not a thing. And it smelled bad, that it had, our landlords were horrible. We got into the apartment by the skin of our teeth. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. There was this whole prevailing thing for our parents, and even now, like, hopefully this doesn't hurt y'all's podcast, but Dave Ramsey, yeah, don't have any credit. Don't like buy things only cash, no matter what. Like, no matter what the situation is, buy it cash. If you need a car to get to work and you don't have it cash, ride a bike. Steal a bike and ride it.
Steal
a bike and ride it to work until you can save up all right. I know there's a lot of good principles for it, but so, our parents were on that and we were on that. So we had no credit. We didn't do anything with credit, right? Going in, and everybody was like, cool, where are you going to live? Because we're not, we don't.
They're like, oh, okay, can you show us pay stubs? No, we're both self-employed. And
That's
we have
the
no
kicker.
credit.
Because the Dave Ramsey...
Where are we going to live? Nobody's renting to us. The
Dave Ramsey thing assumes because you can get into places if you're like, I don't have any credit because of that. Here's my like pay stubs from my employer. Here's my taxes, whatever. And they'll take that. If you're self-employed, all that's out the window. Then it's just like in Tennessee, they're just like, well, it's our prerogative whether we're going to rent to you or not, because you don't have... like you're self-employed and you have no credit. To us, that sounds like we're not gonna get rent. So good luck on that.
Yeah, here's a campsite down the road.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of fields, a lot of land out in Bedford County still. But yeah, so nobody and I had first and last saved up. At one point I had 3 months rent for like, depending on what we were looking at, saved up. Because I'm thinking, yeah, here we go. And they're like, we couldn't care less. Like, we're not letting you in. And so, anyway, we got into that apartment because one of my best friends, shout out Brian Keith Hayes. Brian Keith Hayes. He's not an artist. He's just a regular guy. Shout out Brian Keith Hayes. Anyway, he knew.
Shouting out the regular guys now.
I can't wait till he sees that.
The other guys.
They're definitely cutting that out. It might make the blooper reel.
Okay, you can cut it out. You can cut it out, but at least give it to me, just so I have it.
One of Dylan's early songs, the entire hook was just Brian Keith Hayes' whole name.
So maybe it will make it in the podcast. My first mixtape, Smoke Signal, there's a song on there called Sense, and I think the hook is shout out to Brian Keith Hayes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Brian Keith Hayes. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, he knew the landlord of the apartment. And that's the only way they were very reluctant. Never really liked us, but it was a favor to him. They let us in. They barely wanted us in there. So anyway, we never were late on rent or anything like that. Like, we were really good tenants, but we found possible mold in there. Definite bed bugs.
Yup.
AC unit went out.
Twice. In July.
And we were sick. This is all happening at the same time. We're reaching out to our landlord like, hey, it's literal hell in here. It's Gehenna in here. For you Greek New Testament. And so, and sorry, I've had a lot of coffee. A ton of coffee.
Dylan on coffee is a different thing.
It's a different thing. Okay, so yeah, so all that's happening. They don't want to help us. They're like, you brought the bed bugs. It's not mold. You just want to break your contract. And it's like, what? No, we don't. We have nowhere to go. Why would we want to break our contract? It's just that there's mold here. And they're like, no, it's not mold. It's you wanted to break your contract, whatever. They didn't want to believe us. So listen, man, this is a very crazy story. To prove to our landlords, who you would think would want to know if there's bed bugs because of how they spread. And if you can, if it's just a 750 square foot apartment, you can take care of it and the rest of your units are good. But if you sit on it and they spread to all your units, right? All right. So we're trying to tell them, they're like, nah, there's no bed bugs there. You're lying. You want to break your contract. And so I literally had to trap a bed bug and put it in a plastic bag so that I had proof, right? Anybody who knows anything about bed bugs, this is almost an impossible feat. I know a lot about bed bugs now, but it's almost an impossible feat because I'm sorry I'm taking up so much time on your podcast on this, but like they scurry to like.
He probably has like 10 more questions.
All right. They scurry to corners and stuff. They don't want to be found, right? So like, anyway, you got to picture me in there, like in game mode, like gloves on, like I got the bag, I got tweezers, I'm like ready to go. Cause when I do anything like this, I'm like all the way into it. And so like, they go under the mattress. So when you flip, they're gonna scatter. They're gonna scatter and get into little cracks. So I'm like, all right, 1, 2, 3, flip it. They take off. I'm like diving on there, like trying to get one. The first one, accidentally kill it. It explodes. It's no good to me anymore. I see one running towards the back corner, right? And I'm like, okay, you have to get it and be gentle. So I'm like, just get it. And it's like still alive. Get it in the bag. I'm like, vindication. Like this is absolutely a bed bug. This is definitive proof. You can't tell me it's not. We had spread diatomaceous earth all over the apartment because it said they couldn't pass through that. It's like a very fine powder.
Fine powder pesticide type thing.
But listen, we had some kind of respiratory thing going on. Like we were sick.
Yeah.
And so there's all this extremely fine powder like everywhere. It's like in the air. There's bed bugs. We're also like, they're like, don't like, you have to dry all your clothes because the dryer will kill them. So we're trying not to wear clothes a lot so that they don't get in the clothes. So we're like, we have, this is before COVID. We have like the N95 mask on, like almost no clothes, diatomaceous earth everywhere with the vacuum, like vacuuming. It was so crazy. It was.
The way so our AC was out. It was July, so it was 90-something degrees. The way we slept though is because the bites, I was allergic to them, so I'd well up.
Oh yeah,
the bites were not fun at all. And if they find food, they're gonna keep coming back. So we took off all of our sheets and all of our comforter off the bed, so they couldn't like get into all that. But we slept like fully covered. Like we had hoodies like with long sleeves. We slept long sleeves, long pants, socks. Like we were covering every part of our body we could so they wouldn't be able to bite us. And we don't have AC in the middle of July. Like that's how we slept for like 3 nights in that apartment until they got the stuff fixed.
Sleeping like that, and then the way that I described when it was time to vacuum up the diatomaceous earth, which was everywhere.
Wow.
That was just the apartment. But yeah, also in our first year of marriage was a lot of spiritual formation and heartbreak, and a lot of, what was the other thing I said at the beginning? I don't remember.
Well, because Chelsea was working with you as well.
Yes.
Like she was your manager,
and
right?
was taking off during this time.
Yeah, so we both had full-time jobs, and then we would come home and work our second full-time job, which was Dylan's music career. So,
Man.
that's basically all. That was how we operated for the first couple years of our marriage. Was just because, I mean, he was just starting out, but stuff was going well. But I mean, when you're just starting out, you don't have money to pay people to do stuff.
Right.
So you have to keep all that money yourself. So I was the booking agent. I was shipping merch, fulfilling merch.
The lawyer.
You know, I was, I formed our LLC. I did all that with the state.
You were making legal documents.
I was, yeah, and I was our accountant, and I did all like the bookings and stuff. Like I like booked flights for your shows and like got you hotels. I did all the advancing for shows. So I was doing all that while he was doing, like, he was making all the music and doing all the marketing and social media and stuff like that. So we were just basically a 2-person team for that first little bit. And I mean, that's how we ran. Like there wasn't really any room for much else at that point. That was just how we spent our time.
And that sounds like a hard time but it wasn't a hard time that separated you. It was a hard time that probably brought you even closer together, because you're like having to go through this struggle together. Like, how are we going to make it through these bed bugs, and like doing like that's like hot yoga in the bed, like covered up. If you're listening to this and you're trying to figure out how to lose some pounds for the summer, I promise you.
Yeah.
I promise you, if you're dressed like that in Tennessee, if you're in Florida, oh, good God, you'll wake up like a different person.
Yeah.
You'll probably be dead, actually.
Yeah, you won't make it. You won't make it.
You wake up dead.
Yeah.
So
you lose all your fat in death.
all your fat would just be there beside you, laughing at you like, you should have just stayed fat, man.
Look at you. Now you're dead.
Yeah. You ain't got me. Has there been a time, though, in the 7-year span of marriage where you didn't think, like maybe it wasn't bringing you together and there was some kind of conflict that was kind of making a division where maybe you're like, I don't know if we're going to make it through this?
Yes. Dylan kicked me out of any tribe.
Yeah.
You were
I'm the only one that has ever been kicked out of any tribe.
Yes. She was kicked out. She did not leave voluntarily.
I did not want to, but ultimately it was good for our marriage, because we were functioning much more like a business partnership than a marriage, you know, because that all of our conversations were about, and I mean, still now we talk a lot about his career and, you know, game planning and talking stuff through. I'm a sounding board a lot of times, but like originally, even when we made official like our LLC, like we were both like partners, like listed with the state, like both of our names were on the business.
Yeah.
And then we ended up, like, for other reasons, just because you have to do a separate tax return and all, it was just cheaper to make it
money
just him. So like we did that, but also practically, like I stepped back once it got to a point where it was the option. Like I didn't have to be the one doing this stuff. I think it became healthier for us that it kind of just created a space for us to like have bandwidth and function like not as business partners. Mm-hmm. But I did not leave voluntarily at first.
No.
So he kicked you out of Indie Tribe, which wasn't even a riff. You were probably like, whatever.
Oh, I was really upset.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. I mean, it was still a conversation. It wasn't like he was like comes to me and is like, babe, you're done. You know, like we had conversations.
Wrap
and,
it up. Get out.
But
pack up your
I mean,
desk.
it was a hard thing for me because it was something I built too. Like I poured so many hours into it that I didn't really at the time, like I didn't want to, like a lot of my identity was tied up in it. A lot of like why I felt like I had a seat at the table was because I was doing all that work, and I was like, well, you know, I was kind of like, I don't want to just be your wife places. Like I want to be a contributor to the conversation. And so like when in taking a step back from that, I kind of felt like I was losing like my place, especially just like as a woman in those circles lots of times. I mean, like shout out Aaron.
Shout out Aaron Knight.
Aaron Knight. She does all his like she's like BYOD and does all his marketing and stuff now. But she's like a pioneer for women in the Christian hip hop music business space because there just aren't women there. So it was.
Or if there are women, but they're like overlooked.
They're overlooked. Yeah. Yes. So that was like kind of the struggle for me too, because when I was doing a lot of that work, I really felt validated when I was at the shows and in those spaces because I was doing a lot of work and people knew that, you know? And so stepping back from it kind of got hard to me because I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm just going to be there, you know? And so it's kind of hard for me to step back just into the role of his wife.
And that's probably tough for any spouse of a influencer or celebrity where you're thinking, okay, I got to find my own, either I got to find my own thing to like bring me up like on their level, or I got to be with their thing so that, like you said, I'm not just this person in the shadows. I mean, it takes a very special person to just be okay with that person getting all the spotlight and getting to go to all the cool parties and award shows, and that you're just like, I'm part of it. Not really, but and especially when you were a part of it, and then going to not, like, I'm sure that's challenging. Was that the thing that you took to your church to say, like, hey, we are struggling? Was it that, or was it something different?
No,
what was that?
Yeah, that's what I was talking when Chelsea was like, he's talking about the bed bugs. What I was thinking about was that was no, that had nothing to do with music. That was that was like our marriage falling apart because of just because of sin, because of my sin, because of secrets that I had and that hadn't been dealt with, and that I had to like confess to Chelsea, stuff that we had never like dealt with before, and we needed the church's help with that, you know, like and I talk about it like in my music and stuff. I think I'm just gonna talk about it because it's like easier to just.
Yep, I support you.
As long as you're comfortable.
I'm good.
Okay, all right. In the first year of our marriage, I had 3 separate affairs with not like, it had nothing to do with music. It was just like my life, like just life stuff. But 3 separate affairs, and confessed that to Chelsea. Sorry, I'm trying to like lay this foundation so that we can keep going. But had 3 separate affairs, wasn't caught, like, for like all intents and purposes, had got away with it. This is a big part of my spiritual story too, which is why I'm trying to lay this foundation correctly. But had gotten away with it, but except for God. God was, I felt like David, where he said he could feel like conviction in his bones, like he couldn't sleep at night. He felt like he was wasting away in his bed. God was not willing to leave me in that place of secrecy and destruction. He was not willing to allow me to keep hurting Chelsea and people around me. And so he himself just laid like conviction on me, like you have to confess this. You have to you have to confess and repent from this. And there was like a lot of wrestling going on where like I stopped and cut off like all communication for like 6 months. And I was like, you know, trying to bargain with God, like, never do it again. I'm done. I repent to you, you know, and can we just move forward with this? Essentially, trying to read scripture in a way that would allow for that, trying to, you know, find Christians online who had that opinion, like you should just stop and not confess. And you can find it whatever you want on the internet. So finding like Christians like, yeah, like you just have to live with that guilt, but you need to stop and don't bring anybody else into that pain, essentially. So you don't need to confess, whatever. And God was like, no. Like, God was like, you know what I've said to you, and it's not going to work until you actually come out and live in the light. And so but I still was wrestling with him, didn't want to listen, and I eventually like prayed, you know, God, if you want me to confess to Chelsea, then, you know, just don't let me rest. And I meant it like kind of spiritually, like trouble my heart, trouble my mind. And he like started taking sleep away from me, like immediately. Like it was just not going down. Like I'm tired, it's late, whatever, you know, we're working the jobs that we just described, full-time jobs, and that job now, and not being able to sleep. And so one night was like, okay, tomorrow I'm confessing all of this to Chelsea. You know, obviously hardest thing that I had ever imagined doing. And up until this point, I've been a very secretive person, very like private person, you know, just kind of hiding stuff, obviously. And so that was not something that was not something that I could do on my own power, or that like even made sense for my personality at the time, or whatever, or my track record or anything. So I mean, it was obviously the Spirit. It was obviously the Spirit of God, who convicted me and who empowered me to confess. So anyway, yeah, next day, hardest day. Have to like look at Chelsea in the face and confess these things to her. Yeah, that we kind of immediately knew we are not going to be able to handle this in this little apartment by ourselves. Like, we need help. Like, we need the church's help. And I mean, I don't want to move on to that part until you, like, if you want to talk about the part that I just talked about.
I don't have a lot else to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very hard time. Then we did need the church, and then our church at the time wasn't there for us.
Yeah.
Chelsea, what was your heart reaction to hearing that, and how were you able to overcome that obstacle and continue to be here?
So honestly, my instinct, because of the way I was raised, the church culture I came from, and what I can now identify as a lot of codependency, was to immediately tell him I forgive him and pretend like it didn't happen. So, and that's just not healthy. But at the time, I didn't have any other coping skills. I mean, that's a bomb that goes off, and, you know, it's like, well, you know, I know divorce isn't an option, and I know, you know, because of, like, you know, my culture, it's like that wasn't something that I even considered, and I'm grateful that we didn't. But you know, it's kind of like, all right, where do we turn from here? Like, I have no skills for this. Like, I have nothing. And also just a lot of like pride and like wanting my marriage to look good to people. And so it's like, you know, I'm not going off like telling everybody like, oh my gosh, like what do I do? Cause it's like, well, I don't want everybody to view us as like this marriage is falling apart. But I knew we needed help. And so I said, we got to go to our church. And we did. And then that church that we had been a part of at that time, they didn't have effective skills to deal with that either. In fact, they made it worse.
Mm.
And so, and I'm in a place now where it's like, I'm still, honestly now, like I'm pretty open about, like, I'm in counseling now. And like a lot of this stuff, you know, this was all disclosed 5.5 years ago now, but I'm just now getting to a place where I feel like I'm even actually doing the processing work that should have happened back then, but I didn't have the support system or the skill set to do it. And so, you know, I'm able to go through counseling and like get some, like, I'm in EMDR is great. If you haven't heard of it, it's like trauma-based therapy, like it's for trauma, like it's great. So like just for people who don't even know that those things are options, because I didn't know those were options. I didn't really know I needed help. And so, but now that we're at City Church in Murfreesboro now, and have been, basically we ended up at City Church about 3 months after all this happened, when our former church did not handle it well at all. And City Church, like he had mentioned earlier, like their motto is like, for broken people. And they're very open about their brokenness, and they meet you in your brokenness. And like the fact that we went there in the state that we were incredibly honest about where we were at, and they didn't flinch. Like they just were like, thank you for telling us, how can we walk with you? And like that's how Christ is, you know. And the fact that like our pastor Trevor, like he was very open with us about struggles his marriage had, and he is open from the pulpit about those things. And so going into a culture that was very helpful, but at the same time I didn't really know what I needed. And especially coming right out of that other church where it was really more spiritually abusive than anything. And so reeling out of, you know, all of this just came to light. We're trying to process it through. I mean, one of the first things they told us in our first meeting was to not tell anyone, which if anybody ever tells you that, like, that's not biblical. Like, you need your church family, you need to walk in confession, you need people to speak into your life. But they wanted to like squash gossip or whatever. So they were like, don't talk to anybody. We're going to get you like mentors. Like, we're going to assign people to you. And they took 5 weeks to do that. So the first 5 weeks after all this has come out, we have no one. We're told not to talk to anybody. We're not going to go against our pastor who told us not to do that, but they also haven't provided the people. So like we just really like it became a very survival situation for me. Just, you know, I don't know how to deal with this, and I don't have any support to deal with this. So I'm just gonna decide everything's okay.
And so my story is similar. I was on your end of my first marriage. My ex-wife had 2 affairs. And I think that a lot of people listening are probably hearing, how could Chelsea stay with Dill? How could Dill do that to Chelsea? But I think that the reality is, and what Jesus speaks about, because there's a lot of incorrect theology about, you know, this action that was done is worse than maybe somebody looking at pornography or somebody lusting. But Jesus says it's on the same page. If you go and murder somebody and you have angry thoughts at somebody, it's on the same page. Like, it's a sin level. I mean, obviously it's harder to take and harder to hear. It takes a lot more grace from your partner to say, oh, wow, like you went far enough to commit that. But I think that, like, especially young married Christians, they need to understand that, like, there's probably a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't want to like get anybody in trouble, but there's probably stuff that is in the dark in relationships that doesn't get talked about because they think it's no big deal. It's something small. It's something little. It's not as big as this affair, or, you know, they say that there's these other things, you know, and you start comparing your sin or whatever. And I think that, number one, the fact that you could confess that openly and then take the second step of repentance, because if you keep doing it like that, that's how my marriage fell apart, was just like there wasn't repentance there. It was like there was confession, but it was like I'm still going down that path. And then on the other hand, like, I mean, you could have easily just said, all right, I'm out, I'm done. Like, the Bible says, you know, this is something that could call for divorce. But having that grace, and then just being able to say, okay, we're broken people. And then you go to the church and shame on the first church for not being able to help you through that. But the fact that now City Church is helping you guys, to the fact that you are now community leaders, like you guys have your own community group that you are leading together, and you're like not holding this over his head, and he's not having to, he's not still going out, and like you're not living in sin. You're like living in, you guys said a word for it the other day of like exponential grace, or like grace abounding, or just, and I think that like that is so big that you guys have now come to that place to where, hey, we went through some broken stuff, but now here we are. And I bet that testimony can resonate with other. I mean, it resonates with me, I wanted to save that marriage, when I was in that moment, but it's like, it takes both sides.
Can I actually say something
Yes,
about that?
yes.
Yeah. So after that, City Church, the church that we came to, they were able to, yes, meet us with that grace and that understanding, and they were able to magnify Jesus's grace. One thing you said earlier is that, like, Jesus puts those on the same playing field. I think where we can get in trouble is thinking that Jesus brought murder and adultery down to the level of just anger or just lust, but that's not what he did. He was bringing anger and lust up. So like murder and adultery really are as vile as we innately feel like they are. He was bringing anger and lust up there, not bringing those down. It's not like a way to kind of be like, I mean, hey, but I can't be like, yeah, I committed adultery, but we all look at porn. It's not the thing. Like the adultery should feel like it always did.
Absolutely.
And Jesus is bringing it up. So like, but City Church was able to meet us in our brokenness, and not heap shame and condemnation on us, but remove shame and condemnation, not by saying it's all good, kind of like what we just talked about a second ago, but by saying Jesus's grace is just that huge. It's that scandalous. It's that massive. It's not all good. It is just as bad as it feels inside. But when we're talking about ultimate love and whether shame and condemnation should exist, it does exist. It's just that Jesus took it. He took the shame and condemnation upon himself so that you don't have to feel that. So they were able to like explain that to us in words, but even more show that to us with how they treated us during that time, and then how they walked with us after. The thing is, it wasn't like we just went to them and they said what I just said and they were like, it's all good, like, we love you guys, come worship with us. It was, okay, let's get you. It was all that stuff. And then also, like, here are couples that you can walk through this with, like, daily, like weekly, like we're going to their house and we are talking about our marriage for like in a very structured sense for like a year, and then, but that's just also part of the culture. So really this whole time we've always had like couples in our lives, and so I'm just saying that because I don't want it to sound like, to anybody who may be struggling with this, who hears this, that it was like, okay, this sin happened, the confession happened, and boom, now you guys are how you are now. No, it was a long process of, first of all, reframing who the Father is, reframing who God. I mean, that was huge for us. We thought God was capricious and aloof and far off and begrudgingly is gonna barely let us into his presence. And we first had to be completely reframed into who God really is, who is a happy Father. He's happy with us, like ecstatic with us because of Jesus, because all that is Jesus, all that belongs to Jesus is given to us in his substitution, his righteousness, that means God is not like, I'm kind of waiting on you to mess up. It means God is, this is my daughter, this is my son with whom I'm well pleased. So that reframing had to happen. Well, confession and repentance had to happen. That reframing had to happen. And then discipleship and mentorship to this day had to happen. So it's a long, involved road. Sometimes, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Years, we're talking years, and not something that can be taken flippantly or can be or like belittled or anything like. But I do think that even now, like literally right now in our life, sometimes it's like really hard to see the fruit or like the shore. Our pastor talks about, like, you see the water that you're in right now and the sharks and you don't see the shore that you're going to, that God's taking you to. Like, sometimes it's hard to see the fruit. Sometimes it's hard to see the shore right now in our lives. But even through conversations like this and like thinking back to that time, like the fruit that God has brought to it, first of all, just revealing like who he is actually and getting us out of, it's like, man, that was a horrible situation. You like Joseph went through horrible situations to get where he was, but it's like before that we were not looking at the Father correctly. We weren't looking at each other correctly either. Like, there was so much that God worked out just in showing us who he is, what marriage is, what empathy is, what, like Chelsea's talking about, what like being equipped to there's all kinds of like ripple effects, but valuing her own opinion and her own voice and trusting her emotions and her intuitions and knowing when things are wrong and voicing that and standing behind her opinions and reaching out for help and saying when things are wrong, and not just doing things because of tradition or to save face, like all that. There's just so much fruit. And then the fruit to other couples that we have mentored through our community group, through just doing life with people. Like everybody at our church knows this story. This was like the first situation. I'm about to wrap up, but this is like the first situation that I kind of felt like wary about talking about it. Usually, like, which is what Chelsea was alluding to. Usually I'm just like, we talk about this, everybody in our church knows this. And like all the artists that I work with, everything. But honestly, I just hadn't spent that much time with you guys. I haven't, like, your podcast isn't out yet. If we were talking off record and I knew it would stay off record when we were at like the restaurant, if we just met y'all, it would have just been like an open book. But I just want to make sure I'm protecting like her especially, but also both of us. So I just kind of felt weird because it's like, I don't know how this podcast sounds like, and I just met you guys, not as like a, I'm not trying to hurt y'all's feelings, but that was the only hesitation is what I'm saying. But God has used our story to heal us. He's still in the middle of it. It's still hard. We're still going through it. But he also has produced a lot of fruit in other people through our stories. And, I always say, like, I hope, like, I have scars. We have scars. I hope our scars make it so that other people don't have to get wounded at all, So, all right. I just wanted to wrap that up so there was more, like.
For sure.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you guys for opening up to talk about that, because that's huge. And I do believe, just having that confession. Is this the first time your fan base would be hearing this?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I feel like we both feel like it's like blatantly in my music, but again, not everybody can receive information like that from music. I have talked about it like before, but I think probably for a lot of
it's
people.
It's never been explicitly laid out like in an interview or podcast situation.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, he was on a podcast for our church, and it was on there.
Oh yeah.
But like, you know, in terms of stuff that like is probably gonna get to the fans, you know, like, or more geared towards the fan, probably not. But I mean, like, I know you said you were listening to Close, like,
yeah.
So many people love that song.
Close is
that
autobiographical.
Song is, to me, it's explicit on like what we've been through. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, if you really listen to the lyrics, like, you kind of have to do a dance to assume it means something else.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But sometimes people don't listen to lyrics like that, and sometimes people just kind of go, "Oh, that it must mean something else."
Yeah, Canopy. It's very Close is like I kind of just tell the story in the first verse. Canopy, it's more metaphorical, but it's all the way there because all of this was before like my first album. But Burn on Canopy is really about that. That's like the most explicit on there. But yeah, so it is definitely the first of this format.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last thing I'll say, because you talked about reframing, and I think it was really huge what you talked about. Because it sounds like that whole thing made you reframe just like what is marriage, what is our faith, you know, what is a church to us, like what's that going to be? But you also talked about like reframing like how your parents did family units versus how now you guys are, you know, see the family unit. Mm-hmm. Can you talk on that?
For me, a big reframing, and this like has come into it. It's just that my family didn't really talk about stuff like hard things. I never saw a conflict between my parents, like, which in some ways it's a blessing, but now I've seen the flip side of that of like I had no like skills on how to like communicate when there was a difference of opinion, or, you know, so it's like, and just my family just doesn't typically talk about anything that's hard. Like, we never talk about politics. We never talk about even though they grew up taking all of us to church every single week. My family was so plugged in. We didn't really have a lot of conversations about God or about, you know, so it's like that to me is like the big thing that I just didn't have a lot of, and it's still a challenge for me to like speak my mind or say what I think if I know the person I'm talking to probably won't agree with it. So to me, that's a big thing of like I've learned largely to do with this, but just in general, like I think that is a reframing. And my parents have their own reasons for why that, like, you know, it's like just like I didn't feel equipped by my family to talk about hard stuff. They didn't either. You know, so it's not a slight on my parents at all. My parents were great parents. But that is something that as I've moved into adulthood, that I've noticed that I have a lack in that area that I definitely want to try to figure out. So when we do have children, like they are equipped to handle conflict and to speak their mind and to do stuff like that.
Yeah, and I second that too. Just transparency. Mm-hmm. Really it's echoing what she said, but yeah, I grew up. We had deep and hard conversations, but not we did have deep and hard conversations, but our thing, I guess, is a little different. Our thing was like it's family business, which I understand the merit in that, and I get the thinking in the heart, but that what can happen is like we keep stuff in the family. If there's conflict in the family, like conflict in the family, or there's something that shouldn't be happening in the family, or you're hurt by somebody in the family, or or even if it's just like a sin thing, you just keep that like all in the family. We can handle that at the house. We don't bring people into that. That's our business, right? And not now, my parents definitely weren't like, if somebody hurts you, we're keeping that in the family. They would be appalled at that, like, definitely not. But the thing is, when you're a kid, you don't know all the nuances and stuff. Like whatever the phrase is and whatever you see modeled, you're going to do that like to the extreme. So parents could mean, of course, if somebody in the family hurts you, like tell somebody. But if the culture of the family is no, we keep that in the family, like, you know, then the kid doesn't know that, you know, like unless it's like explicitly said. Kids don't know anything unless it's explicitly said, is kind of what we're saying. Like you have to have those conversations. But then I think that directly affects marriage. Whereas like I looked at marriage that way, you know, and you can see in our situation, the Spirit did the work, because if we had taken that approach, that approach loses all benefit in that situation. If it was like, okay, this is family business, this happened between us, but we got to handle this between the two of us, or even we got to handle this between the two of us and some other family members, you know, but this can't get out, like that air of secrecy and hiding for an image or for saving face or whatever. Like, thank God that he came in and was like, all of that's out of the window. Like, tell on yourself, then go tell people, you know, because they are going to be able to walk with to help me drag you out of darkness into light. And then we're all going to walk together on this path of light. You know what I mean? And I say that because I prayed that to God, like that he would. It's a cowardly prayer, but he answered it. It's like, I don't want to step into the light. Like, can you drag me out of this darkness? You know what I mean? And that can't happen if you circle the wagons and be like, oh, we got to make sure our family name is good, you know? And so.
Man, so good. I could talk to you guys for hours and hours. Like, we're going to have to do a sequel to this. We're going to have you guys.
We'll go to Disney next time.
Yeah. Hey.
Wait, I thought you were a Nick kid. You're going to go to Disney next time.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go to Disney.
That's me sacrificially loving her. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I love that we went all the way from Nickelodeon to talking about the potential of you guys having a child, like a little Dill Pickles, you know, like Rugrats.
Nice. There we go.
So I feel like we went full circle today.
Shout out Dylan Prescott Pickles. That's his middle name. You can look it up. Dylan Prescott Pickles.
The fact that you knew that, I love it. So I have appreciated any and all time that we've had together. I hope that we continue to stay in touch. But if people are trying to stay in touch with you, maybe just by listening to your stuff, seeing everything that you got going, what's the hashtag? What is the handle? What are they looking for?
It's No Big Deal on anywhere you could consume music or social media or anything. So that's NOBIGDYL, because my name is Dylan, so DYL. NOBIGDYL at No Big Deal on all social media. No Big Deal on Spotify, on Apple Music. If you type in NOBIGDYL on Google, it'll only be me that comes up.
Awesome. Amazing. Yeah, and if you don't go check him out, I mean, the fact that his name's DYL, like, why the L would you not go check him out?
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Actually, I just ripped that off of Young Life, so probably can't say that.
Okay.
But anyways, it's been a pleasure to have you guys here. If you're still listening, we love you guys. And until next time, stay young, stay married, but definitely stay Christian.
Ooh.
Hey, nice sign off.
Hey y'all, we hope you loved this conversation. Here at Young Married Christian, we are on a mission to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. There are 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and there are 400,000 churches in America. Wow, that is crazy. This is absolutely a solvable problem, and we want to be a part of it. If you want to join us in that mission, text the word freedom to 833-370-1610.
833-370-1610. 833-370-1610.
I just did it.
And another thing you can do that is really helpful is to smash the like button on this video.
Smash it like Satan's face. Crush it like it's Lucifer's head.
It really helps us a ton, so smash that like button, subscribe to this channel.
That's it.
Smash the like button on this video.